Hello everybody, and welcome to my tier list for the Soul Fighter Arena. This is the new game mode that is coming out soon. That is the 2v2v2v2 Arena. Now, I've played a little bit of it on the PBE. I've got 7,836 LP. You get like 36 per match. So it's a lot of games that I've played. Everyone above me has no life, and everyone below me is bad at the game. Me, I'm at the perfect rank and am absolutely perfect. So we're going to go through every single champion alphabetically, and I'm going to just give a brief description of why I put them in here. To talk through the tiers here, S+++ means this champion desperately needs to be nerfed in some way before the game launches, or they will dominate. Potentially should just be banned from the mode, and I'll explain why. S tier means this champion is overpowered in some way, but isn't beatable. They're just, like, S champions are very overpowered. They're beatable. S+++ means this champion just realistically doesn't lose. A tier means this champion is really good. B tier means they're good. C tier means they're average. D tier means they're probably lacking in some way. F tier means this champion is trolling your team to death. Disabled means this champion is not enabled in the game mode. Okay. We're going to go through them alphabetically, and I'll try to give a brief description on all of them for why I feel they are, and if they should be buffed or whatever. Aatrox, first up, alphabetically, goes into B tier. People don't know that Aatrox currently has a buff on the PBE. His Q percent health, or sorry, percent damage ratio, right now it's 60 to 80%. On the PBE, it's 60 to 100%. So that's like a 25% increase to its AD ratio at rank 5. The flat damage takes a bit of a hit, but it means that Aatrox is very powerful. Now, he's not very good in the mode, but he's a very powerful champion, and if you fight certain comps, he's pretty good, I would say. Definitely better than some other champions. He'll probably be overpowered in Summoner's Rift, but on this mode, just because of how it works, it makes him good. The game mode is more late game, I should say mid to late game focused. You can easily just lose the early rounds and be fine, but Aatrox, through his buffs, he's doing fine. Realistically, he's good. Certainly better than some of his other picks. Ahri goes into C tier because Ahri doesn't really do anything remarkable. Mages on average, I would say, are weak in this mode. Like, not like super weak, but just a little weak. But there are some mages, because they buff mage items really hard in this mode. Some mages go completely nuts and dominate the mode because of it. I would say mages are, they're fine-ish, right? Ahri isn't weak, she isn't strong, she's just like a solid C tier. She doesn't really do anything incredible. She's fine. I might even put her in D tier, to be honest. If you're fighting certain comps, she can do well, but it's just like anything she does, other champions do better. I wouldn't say she's weak, though, so I'd keep her down here in C tier. Akali is also C tier. A lot of assassins, and you'll see me putting most assassins kind of in C or D or even F tier. The problem is most assassins, they rely on killing people who are under-leveled in the normal game mode, so their damage tends to be lower than it should be. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, should be. Basically, assassins rely on killing low-health people that are under-leveled, and then snowballing on that. And because they can't do that in this game mode, they tend to struggle a bit. Now again, mage items are hyper buffed in this mode. I wouldn't say any mage is particularly bad, it's just many of them aren't good. Though there are some mages that are bad. That other rate, Akali is like C tier. I might even, yeah, I don't know. Akali is like D or C tier. I don't really know. Or sorry, Ahri is D or C tier. I would say Akali is probably even D tier as well. Is probably fine. I might refine this later on. Akshan, so Akshan's currently bugged, which kind of makes it difficult to say. He can revive his teammate, but then the teammate that revives is super bugged. I don't know a better way to put it. It's just like bugged. So I'm going to put him in D tier. If the revive worked and he can make the 1v2 comeback, and I think I might put him higher, but right now it's really buggy. He himself isn't good. He's not trolling your team to death. I just don't think he does anything good. Alistar, oh god, he's in S tier or A tier. Alistar is really, really good, and really doesn't have any weaknesses. You can build him to do damage. You can get a lot of augments that make him really, really strong. He doesn't really do anything bad at all. In fact, I would say he's quite good in this mode. Yeah, he can ring people out. He can reduce damage. He has a lot of things he can do. A lot of the tank augments are quite good as well. So, yeah, that's the thing. He's just a very... I'm going to put him in S tier. This is going to sound weird because you can never really roll a bad Alistar game. If you get Phenomenal Evil, you can stack up a crap load of AP and one-shot people. He has 2 augments that allow him to perma-stun people that are extremely potent. Failing any of that, he can just go Spirit Link, Colossus, things like that. He's one of the only champions that can deal with some of the S+++ champions because he can actually tank through them using his ultimate. So Alistar, I'm going to put him in S tier. He's just a very versatile champion. There's barely any champions he can't work with. Again, if he's playing like a burst comp, okay, then he uses his ult and CCs people and builds a lot of damage and just goes for the one-shot. If he's with, you know, kind of like a ring out combo that just wants to go into overtime and knock people out of the ring, then he's probably the best at that. A low cooldown knockback and a stun and a second stun. So he's really, really good at that. So honestly, he's just extraordinarily versatile in everything he does. Amumu, I'm going to put in B tier. Amumu, he doesn't do anything bad. There's nothing bad about Amumu. It's just, I think he doesn't have any way to heal. He doesn't have any way to shield. He doesn't have any way to like hard reduce damage. Armor and magic resist are at an all-time low of like, this game mode is so much pen. All the items have their pen buffed. He's just not very good at what he does, in my opinion. Well, I should say, as compared to other tanks, like overall, I would still say he's good. Like he's good. He's in an A B tier, right? I would just say that there's other tanks that are definitely better than him, to where I would probably not pick Amumu. I'd probably not pick Amumu if I had a choice. Anivia, I'm gonna put in D tier. Anivia automatically loses the level 3 round. She basically automatically loses the level 4 round. Even the level 6 round, she can struggle on. Even once you get her going, you can just... Because everyone has so much ability haste, you just constantly knock her out of her ultimate. She does get egg every round, and that's why I wouldn't put her in F tier. I would definitely say there are some comps that could work with Anivia. Like, you can maybe do, like, Anivia Heimer and wall people and do some funny stuff with that. But overall, there's not much Anivia can do if they just jump on her. There's not much she can do if they just outpoke her. She kind of loses to either side of the coin. You know, if she can get into the mid game and she can fight the right comp, she could be good, I guess. But I don't really think Anivia has anything going for her right now. Annie? Okay, this is going to be a bit of a surprise. I'm going to put Annie in S tier. Annie is so goddamn strong right now. Even with the nerfs she got from Summoner's Rift recently, due to mage items being so giga buffed, and this is why there's kind of an issue with just blanket buffing all mage items and not individual champions. Due to the fact that they giga buffed mage items, nerfed Force of Nature, did all that stuff, it's very common for Annie to just straight one-shot people. Failing that, she can just summon Tibbers and have them chase people around. There's a lot of augments that proc on Tibbers that will allow Tibbers to kill you if you try to fight back against him. So if she's fighting a burst comp, she can just summon Tibbers and have them run at the burst comp while sitting on a stun, staying away from them. And if she does that, then Tibbers will just obliterate them eventually because they'll catch up. Overall, I just put Annie in S tier. She's extraordinarily difficult to deal with. Certain comps I don't think will ever actually be able to beat her. I don't think any comp will actually ever be able to beat Annie without being really, really good. So, yeah. Aphelios, I'm gonna put in D tier as well. Okay, so the problem with Aphelios, he relies on getting in the late game, he relies on having a team in front of him, and he relies on being, like, the only champion who can do insane damage on Summoner's Rift. Now, if you're playing on this game mode, he only has one person in front of him. And yes, he can do lots of damage, but like the range is limited. I don't think he can set up his weapons properly. There's a lot wrong with him. I'm not going to get into it too much. He's just D tier. I don't think he's any good. Ashe, I'm putting in F tier. Her complete lack of mobility, I think, is trolling your team to death. Everyone jumps on her. Everyone one-shots her. There's lots of augments that make you insanely fast. Like, you can just reach 500, 600, 700 speed organically. And then what does Ashe do? Nothing. You just run up and kill her. Even if she hits an arrow, she ice arrows you at melee range, stuns you for 1 second. Can she kill you from full health in 1 second? Probably not, but can you kill her? Yes. So, like, what does Ashe do when she's against Tibbers? Annie sends Tibbers at her. Does she perma-slow Tibbers? Sure, but then Annie comes on the other side and one-shots her. Okay, that's it. Like, she can't do anything. Asol. Okay, I'm also going to put Asol in F tier. I was going to put him higher, but I'm going to be honest. Once again, he has the Anivia problem. Whereas Anivia has more range, though, I think Asol is F tier. He can do good into certain comps, but all you need to do is aim for him and run him down, and he loses. There's nothing he can do. He gets his Q constantly interrupted. He doesn't really have mobility. He's got 1 mobility. He's got 1 ability that can jump over walls, but because everyone has like insane mobility and everyone has insane ability haste, like it's very common for people to have 45% cooldown reduction by like level 6 to 8 in this game mode. Now that's fun, and it does mean that the game plays smoother and you don't have as much zoning around minions as you do in Summoner's Rift, because Summoner's Rift is all about zoning around minions, right? But in this game mode, it means that Asol gets his Q interrupted nonstop. He gets CC'd to death nonstop. He has so many comps he can't do anything into. Double tank, they stun lock him to death. Assassin, they jump on him and one-shot him. Ranged zoners, they just zone him out and never let him play the game. There's nothing he can do, in my opinion. Azir, I'm going to put in D tier. He's not trolling your team to death, and I think very good Azir players will be able to play him. In fact, I might just put Azir into C tier, because good Azir players will probably be able to make him a good champion. But at level 4, he doesn't do good. At level 5, at level 3, he doesn't do good. At level 4, he doesn't do good. At 6, he doesn't do good. I think Azir, I think if people play him well, he might actually just be B tier. I think, honestly, I just might put Azir in B tier, because I know good Azir players will make him a totally different champion. And I probably will just put him in B tier, because I know good Azir players will do very well with him. I think that would be fair. So putting in B tier is definitely more than I think he deserves. But also on the PBE, you don't see anyone playing him well. And like in solo queue, Azir at 44% win rate can be dominating pro play, right? So you can't really say how good he is without seeing people who are good at him. So I'm going to guesstimate here that he's probably going to end up being strong, but not too strong. Bard, F tier. I don't think I need to explain anything. It's so easy to go over walls in this game mode. Going over walls, like the thing is, Bard goes over a wall, he gets to a turret, he gets safe in Summoner's Rift, right? Or he walls and engages, right? But in this game mode, not only do you have boots that allow you to go over walls if need be, but he just isn't that good. He doesn't do any damage, his stuns are low. There's nothing good about Bard. The only thing they could really do to fix him, in my opinion, would be to just give him insane meeps. Just like an utterly insane amount of meeps per round. Like he just generates more than he could ever get on Summoner's Rift by like double. Maybe. And then he just becomes an insane damage bot. And that wouldn't be very fun though. So I don't know. It's just Bard conceptually in this game mode doesn't really work. Belvoth. Oh boy. I'm going to put Belvoth in D tier, not F. So I don't think Belvoth is trolling your team to death. I think you could still win with a Belvoth. But there's a lot of champions who do her job better. Master Yi does her job better. Yeah. Without the ability to gank or do anything like that early game, without the jungle advantage of just having insane gold by being a jungler, I think Belvoth is definitely a bit weaker. There's not much she does. She doesn't do that much well. I don't really have anything to say about Belvoth. I'm gonna be blunt. I just don't. I don't have anything to say. I think she would be a firm showing in D tier, as in she's bad. She's not trolling your team to death. Look, if you play the right comp and you get the right augments, Belvoth could probably win. And that's what D tier means. If you get the right comp and you get the right augments, yeah, you could probably win. Blitzcrank. The debate is between D tier and F tier. I'm going to be dead honest. I think I might just put Blitzcrank in F tier. Pulling an opponent isn't as good as you think it is. In Summoner's Rift, it's a 5v5, so you can safely have a champion just trying to get pull one-shots. In a 2v2, For example, how does Heimer lose to Blitz? He's never going to get pulled. How does Zyra lose to Blitz? He's never going to get pulled, right? He could do what? He could counter like Anivia, maybe. He could, and there's so much mobility. Again, you can be at the point where you can be sitting on 500 movement speed by like level 6, and I'm not even exaggerating. So, what does Blitzcrank do? Nothing. He doesn't, like, other champions who rely on skill shots like Aatrox just do so much damage, and Armor Pen is so buffed in this mode that Aatrox can just like obliterate people. If you don't have mobility, Aatrox can obliterate you. But what does Blitzcrank do? He's just gonna run up and, like, even if he hits you with everything, right? Even if he hits you with everything, you can't do anything. There's literally an augment that gives you a free Blitzcrank hook off your character every 12 seconds, and it's still an it's a good augment, but it's not like great, right? So if your entire champion is an augment, then what are you even doing in this game mode? There are some characters I think should just be disabled because either they break the game mode fundamentally or they're just never going to be good. And yeah, Brand, I'm going to put in C tier. Brand can definitely counter some comps, and it's very easy for him. There are some augments he can get that allow him to go infinite, and he does do a lot of damage, and he does do a lot of percent health damage. In fact, I think Brand I might even put in D tier. No, I don't know. I think I put Brand in D tier. Once again, if you get the right augments with him, and you have the right team comp, and you're fighting the right people, I think Brand could shine. For sure. Right? But it's kind of just like, the only way I put it is it kind of overbuffed mage items, and the problem is every mage is going to look decent with their items because they just one-shot people, but because everyone one-shots everyone late game, what does Brand do? Right? Like what does he do? What does Brand do if Alistar ults and just starts running at him with intent to just WQ spam him? He can stun him once, maybe he can even stun him twice, but then Alistar's getting in range, and that's the end of that. Other champions, such as Syndra or other mages, can either kite, stun him really hard, just dead-ass one-shot people, have more range. Brand doesn't have the most range. He has some range, I'll admit. His W's got some range. He's got some poke. His QW's decent range, but like he's like a D tier. If I was fighting a Brand, I would literally just go, okay, just run at him. Braum I'm also putting in D tier. So here's the thing. Other mages, or I should say other tanks have the ability to slot in some mage items. Like, most tanks have good AP ratios. Amumu has good AP ratios. Alistar has good AP ratios. Braum doesn't. He has like a 0.4 on his ult, and that's it. So when push comes to shove, Brand can't slot in any mage items. So he doesn't do a lot of damage baseline. He doesn't scale the best. If you're trying to play him as a pure tank to peel people, he's not that good either. He gets obliterated by poke comps. There's not really much he does. So far as tanks go, he might actually be the worst other than maybe Blitzcrank. He's not good. I'm not saying like he's unplayably bad. They're definitely, like, if you're playing an ADC tank and your opponent is playing ADC tank, then yeah, Braum can put up his shield and probably block the ADC, your ADC shoots their ADC, and you win the match. Sure. Like, I'm saying there are comps and there are situations where he could still work, just overall, on average, I don't think he's very good. Caitlyn, I'm actually going to put a surprise C tier. Why? She's okay. She's not bad. She can definitely try to get some funny one-shots in. I would say she's average. The problem is she gets run down really easy. Like, by a lot of comps. A lot of comps can just run her down easily. But, like, as a backup ADC, especially if she gets bonus range, her range can become insane. Because you can get 150 range bonus in this mode. So, like, her range can start getting utterly insane. She starts struggling into the late game once everyone has giga mobility and can run her down. But, like, if you put someone in front of her that can lock people down, she's got good range safety. Unlike other ADCs, she's got really high base damage as well on her traps, on her Q, on her net. So, like, she can be good. The biggest issue is her ult is not very useful in this game mode either. Her ult's not very good. So, yeah. Camille I'm putting in D tier. I know I'm putting a lot of champions in D tier, but that's just kind of how I feel about this. Why is Camille in D tier? I think Camille should really be C tier. Why is she D tier? Because she's currently bugged. Basically, her passive keeps giving the magic damage shield. It keeps giving the magic damage shield on physical damage enemies, which is bad because you will fight things like Neferi, or you'll fight things. I had it happen on, I can't remember. It's a few champions. I got the magic damage shield, and because of that, you can't really beat them because suddenly you don't have the 20% health shield. Her DPS is kind of not great. Divine Sunder has lost a lot of its percent health damage, and so one of the big issues is she kind of struggles to deal enough percent health damage to chew through the Giga Tanks. Realistically speaking, I definitely think Camille could work in some dive comps, and that's why I would put her in C tier. Like, firmly average, not bad, not good, just firmly average. But the fact that her passive is bugged, and for launch, for launch, they'll probably fix this. So she'll probably be in C tier. But as of right now on the PBE, I would say that she's D tier, because she's bugged, and certain champions just give her the magic shield, and she sucks. Cassiopeia, I'm going to put in A tier. Cassiopeia is pretty good. Now, the reason I don't put her in S tier and the reason I put her in A tier, if Cassiopeia fights the right champions, it's bad. And if she gets the right augments, it's really bad. And many champions can't fight her at all. On the other side, she can't fight many champions. Cassiopeia can't beat Annie, right? Cassiopeia can't do much into a lot of champions. But Miasma is extraordinarily powerful. It's an insane ability, and with how high damage is, hitting certain champions with a miasma can just end the game, right? Like, oh, you hit Caitlyn with a miasma, now she's dead. Like, you just walk up EE dead from full, right? So it's not just Caitlyn, it's like a lot of melee champions. It's like, God, there's so many. Any melee champion with a gap closer gets hit by miasma, they're dead from full. Whereas in the base game, you can, stack a lot of magic resist, you can shield, but the damage is just so high that you just get obliterated. And with Icy Cold makes your slow by a lot more, and so it can also make Rylai's Cassiopeia just slow people to death, so she can just Q. You try to run away, she Qs again, you cannot dodge it, right? So I would put Cassiopeia in a firm A tier. There's just some champions she can't do anything about, but there's a lot of champions that can't do anything about her. Cho'Gath, I'm going to put in C tier. He's got a lot of augments that actually aren't that good on him. For example, Courage of the Colossus, which is one of the best augments for tanks, doesn't really work on him because it only procs on his Qs, which can be easily dodged. He can't do anything into super mobile champions. On the other hand, he does a shitload of damage, and he has a silence. And because of that, his silence means that he can straight shut down some champions who otherwise would be able to beat anything other than a silence. It's a 2-second one as well, so it's kind of hard to find 2 seconds of CC for many champions in the game. Cho'Gath has that. Cho'Gath is also not amazing, but decent in the early game, and I think this is important. Starting at level 6, he gets 1 stack of his ult per round. So depending on how many feasts you can get throughout the game, but it's very easy to end up with 12 to 15 feasts by late game. Whereas in the base game, you get 6 by default. And then you have to eat champions and dragon stuff, so like you have to work hard for it. But in this game, I've ended at 15 pretty consistently, which is on the upper end for Cho'Gath. So he ends up doing a lot of damage. Now the problem is he can't beat things like Mundo. But again, once your ult is doing like 1500 to 2000 true damage, even with the increased health pools in this game, that does mean that certain champions just get devoured. And if you get some augments, you can do really good. It's just like he's not really as good as other tanks because he can't use the augments as well. He has no healing. His passive does nothing. He has no shielding. He has no way to keep his health doing anything. But there are some champions, again, that he can beat. I mean, I might even put him down in D tier. But I would say, in all honesty, I would probably fear a Cho'Gath more than like a Belvoth or a Camille or an Anivia, right? Like if Belvoth tries to fight Cho'Gath, he silences her. She just sort of sits there, R ult, they're dead. Quirky, I'm going to put in C tier. He's okay. So, I don't know how it works. I think it's like level 6 and above, maybe. He always gets a package every single round, which is extremely powerful, right? Because normally in the base game, that'd be every 5 minutes. So much like how I put Anivia in D tier instead of F because she gets an egg every round, Quirky I put in C tier instead of D because he gets a package every round. So the free package every single round, because remember the package makes him CC immune and it CCs people and it does a shitload of damage. Because of that, Quirky can use the package every round and particularly against a lot of burst combos, kill them very, very easily. He also has poke on his ult. He can get his abilities apply on hits on his ult, which gets extremely deadly. Things like Lich Bane on his ult. So he's got some good augments he can do. He's overall pretty good. I mean, well, average. He's like C. He's like average. If you get good augments and you're into the right comp, he can do okay. That's about it. Just because he gets a package every round. I would say overall, Quirky does rely on Summoner's Rift and poking people out. In this game, it's really easy to just run at people really hard. So that's why he's not higher. Like, you'd think, oh man, he gets a package every round. He should be S tier. But no, that's just not how it works. Okay. Darius, I'm going to put in C tier as well. Scoped weapons, Darius is okay, I guess. But scoped weapons gives melee characters 250 more range. And that sounds terrifying, right? But without Conqueror and without any of his runes, anything like that, without Ghost, Darius tends to not do too well. We were playing double tank comps, and even then Darius struggled. Against 2 tanks is Darius. Armor pen is really, really, really easy to find in this game. So the whole, like, I have 35% armor pen. That's not very unique. Everyone can kind of find really good armor pens. Serelda's is 40% in this mode, which should probably be nerfed. But overall, I would say it's really not even deadly to like have a Darius at range. Particularly when other characters are just obliterating you at range. I would say Darius is just... he's okay. He's okay. I would say that's fair. Darius is okay. Diana, I'm going to be dead honest. I've not seen a single... No, I found Diana once. I'm going to put her in D tier. No one's playing Diana, and I don't think she's very good. Once again, she's an assassin who relies on one-shotting people who are under-leveled. You know, like going bot lane, killing people like that. I don't think she's that good in this game mode. Not really. There's not a whole lot that she does. I don't have much more to say because I have not played against her much. Draven, I'm going to put in B tier, actually. Draven does so much damage, it can secure so much gold, that he can just try to snowball out and knock teams out of the game early game. Now, will he get first place? Maybe not. But can he secure an easy second place? Because remember, the first and second place gain LP, third and fourth lose LP. Draven, I would say, basically you're guaranteed to not get last place unless you're fighting other like mega early game combos. Third place also, I think you could avoid. I think you're pretty consistently... Unless other people start playing early game, I think you would be able to get second place. First place, maybe not. But you're probably... So, I would say Draven is good. Now, he also has some really good builds. He can massacre people with mega damage. Is he as good as the other 80 carries that are like S tier or higher? Probably not. But he's a pretty good champion. Mundo? Okay, so some people put Mundo in A tier. Some people put Mundo in S tier. My opinion is Mundo is actually S tier. That's because... Mundo means if you don't have an anti-Mundo comp, you can't do much. Now, lots of people have gotten better at playing the game. They have gotten, like, they know to get Firebrand if they're playing an auto attacker, right? Or if they're playing a tank, they can get, you know, I can't remember their version of the percent health damage, right? So you can stack percent health damage on Mundo, and you can beat him. He's not S+++. I would not say that he's unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, if you were preparing and you saw Mundo and you knew how to beat him, he might even be A or B tier. But the thing is, you have to prepare for Mundo. If you see a Mundo is in the game, you have to take anti-Mundo augments. You have to take anti-Mundo items. You have to. And so because of that, he's kind of warping, let's put it that way. He kind of warps the game around him. He's beatable. He might not even get first, but everyone has to prepare for Mundo. Now, if the game starts going competitive and everyone has to start playing against Mundo, that might allow some things like Paladin Mord to go through because people aren't building paladin board stuff because everyone's worried about Mundo. Do you get that? So it's a weird way to describe it. Echo, I'm going to put in C tier. Echo can do fine. He's not really good at the level 3, the level 4, not even the level 6. Later in the game, he can start using the buffed mage items to start killing people. But with the increased health pools, and Echo typically has enough damage to one-shot people in Summoner's Rift, but with people having slightly more health, it actually throws them off it throws them off pretty hard. So I would say he's firmly average. I definitely think mage items should be nerfed, and if certain champions are too weak after they tone down mage items, it's really just Void Staff needs to go down to 40% from 45, by the way. But if they do that, I'd be fine with giving Echo like a 5% damage buff so that he just keeps pace. But yeah, overall, I would say he's like fine. He's not amazing. He definitely has some champions he can obliterate, right? Like if he's fighting some of these hyper-mobile champions, he can just E into them, Q auto, and chunk half their health off, ult back, and that's the thing. He can pick up plants, get to another ult. Like there's a lot of things Echo can do, is what I'm trying to say. So I would say he's firmly in C tier. He's fine. He just doesn't do anything good. Elise, I'm putting in F tier. Any champion I don't think can win games, I'm going to put in F tier, by the way. If you can't win and you're just going to consistently not even get in top 2, then you're not really a good champion, are you? So Elise obviously is based on ganking early game. Level 3 gank, level 3 gank, level 3 gank. That's it. That doesn't translate over to Soulfighter Arena. I would not buff Elise because I don't think she is an interesting kit. I don't think she does anything interestingly. If you left it up to me, I would literally say just ban her from the game mode. I know that sounds mean, but like, you would have to remake the champion to make her more comfortable. But I know what Riot is going to do, and this is why I say these champions shouldn't be buffed. All they're going to do is eventually do something like, Elise now does 20% more damage, like it's ARAM. So now if you ever get hit by Elise, she just does like 7,000 damage and one-shots you. That's not fun. Her kit doesn't have anything fun it can do. And so I just think she should be disabled from the game mode. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's a good idea to have champions in the game mode who are going to need 20% more damage to be viable because they're balanced on Summoner's Rift, right? Maybe you could make her tankier and maybe increase the healing on her spiders so she can drain tank better. But I know Riot, and I know they're just going to say Elise does 20% more damage, which is just going to be really unfun. Evelynn, I'm putting in D tier. She's okay, I guess. One of the biggest things about Evelynn is she's one of the few assassins that can kill tanks because she has super high magic resist shred. The problem is everyone in this game mode gets super high magic resist shred, so she's not anything special. In addition to that, because she needs to stealth around and be hee funny, like I'm sure there are some comps she can do good, and maybe I should even put Evelynn in C tier to be fair, but as of now, the few times I've fought her, she doesn't do much. She can't guard her teammate because she needs to charm, then wait, then use it. So she can't guard her teammate. She needs to do the funny charm thing. People can build against her. I mean, I definitely think she could do good. I mean, I'll put Evelynn in C tier, I guess. I guess C tier. She can be good, and she can play with certain comps, and I don't know. I just don't think she's that amazing. If she is in C tier, I'd put her at the lower end. You have to play with specific champions to make her work, and maybe that means I should just put her in D tier. If she only works with specific champions, then maybe she's not that good. She can't fight tank teams. She can't fight a lot, really. I don't know. And she's a super high crapshoot, right? I don't know. I would put her in C tier. She's probably fine. I'm sure there's combos people can figure out with her. And that's the thing. Like, I can only do what I can do, right? Like, I can play as many games I want, but like, even if I've played 500 games of the mode, I haven't played every champion 20 times to figure out everything. I've played some champions a lot, but Evelynn, I think there's some champions that, like, I could imagine them doing well. Ezreal, I'm going to put in D tier. Now, maybe there's a comp where Ezreal does well, but his whole thing of like, ooh, he poked you down to half, and now you need to go back to base. Haha, he's such a good champion. That's not really applicable to this game mode. With so much healing and lots of champions being able to apply abilities, apply on hits at range, Ezreal's unique thing isn't even unique to him in this game mode. I wouldn't buff him because like he's Ezreal, right? Like in fact, I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I should just put him in C tier because people will figure out a way to break him because he's Ezreal. But I would say that like every champion in this game mode can get broken, so the ability to be broken isn't unique. Ezreal in the base game can be like, oh, I can get Man Immune and I can get Trinity and I can apply all these on hits at range. Ha ha ha, he he he, right? But in this mode, that's just not unique. Fiddlesticks. Okay, I see a lot of people continuously try to play Fiddlesticks, so maybe I should rate him higher just because people keep trying to make him work, but I just don't see how. I literally, he has to do flash ult, and maybe that's why people do him. He just flash ults. But you can only flash, if you use flash, you can't use it the next round, and you only get it once per round. So he can flash ult to win a round, and then the next round he can't. So maybe there's a way to make this work I'm not thinking of. Once again, like Cho'Gath, maybe it's just his ability to apply an instant 2-second CC. Maybe that's just what makes him good. He can instantly apply a 2-second CC and try to one-shot people. I guess maybe that could work. Maybe it's his silence at long range, I guess. I see a lot of people continuously try to make him work. I'm very confused each time, but people consistently try to keep doing it. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to give him the benefit of a doubt and say maybe? Okay. Fiora's D tier. I don't think she's quite trolling your team to death, but she doesn't seem to be doing good. She's very reliant on Blade Waltz to just like she ults, then she uses Blade Waltz, and oh, it's old Fiora ultimate, and she hits every part of it, and oh, ha, ha, ha. But like other than that, she's not very special. Raw DPS on Fiora is actually quite low. I've actually found that tanks can often out heal her because they can get so many augments that shield and heal and etc. I just don't think Fiora is very special in this mode. I don't think she should be buffed. And I do think there are certain comps that can make her work for sure if people play well on her and all that. And maybe eventually she does get better and people learn different combos and stuff. I would definitely say that Fiora. I would definitely say Fiora is not very good in this mode though. Fizz, I'm going to put Fizz, ironically, in A tier. I don't know if that's ironic, but I have played with Fizz, and I think that the ability to... Because there are multiple effects in this game that apply on spell hits, and Fizz's W counts on a spell hit as every tick. So there's multiple augments that can break Fizz and let him go near full infinite invulnerability combo if you get them. Even if you don't get them, he does good damage and can run around and be funny and troll pull. If you get the augment that gives you 300 item haste, you can get an 8-second cooldown Zanya's, so you can Q in into E into Zanya's into E again, and then you just need to find what you flash out, and then 2 seconds later it's right back, E into Zanya's into E again. So I think there's a lot of combos that would not actually be able to deal with Fizz at all. Like I think there's a lot of champions and a lot of combos that literally would never be able to deal with Fizz. On the other side, I think there's a lot of champions that Fizz couldn't deal with. Fizz can't really do much about some champions. He can't deal with poke. He can't really deal with pets. He can't really deal with turrets, things like that. I think Fizz is definitely quite strong in this game mode. I just think that like he has some weaknesses, and that's why I wouldn't put him in S tier, because he doesn't warp. Like, you don't need to deliberately counter build Fizz. If you hit him with a CC, he dies, right? I definitely think he's A tier though. He's quite good. He's quite good. Galio, I know I keep filling up the D and F tier, but I'm sorry, there's some champions who just don't translate well to this game mode. It's a new game mode, and that's fine. It's fine. If half the roster can compete on this game mode, then I would actually consider that to be a good thing. I know that sounds absurd, but yes, I would actually say that if half the roster can compete, that's a good thing. It's a totally different game mode, completely altering the game with different items and completely different balance. Obviously, some champions played on a completely different game mode won't work well. If you take a fighting game and you take fighting game players and you put them in a MOBA, there are some fighting game characters that wouldn't compete well in a MOBA, right? Galio, though, I'm going to put an F tier. I have played with multiple Galios, and all I ever think of when I play this champion is, wow, so you're like a tank, except your cooldowns are 3 times longer. and you do the same damage, and that's it. Okay. His entire balance is on his ultimate, obviously. He ults people, shields them, does huge AoE damage. He shields everyone, and oh, big magic shield, anti-magic, and boom, right? But that doesn't translate well into a 2v2 arena, right? It just doesn't. He just doesn't do enough. I think Galio in this game mode would need... To be viable, he would need his W cooldown. I'm going to look up what it is right now. But he would need his W cooldown, like his taunt thing. He would need that to be on a much lower cooldown, in my opinion. So right now it's 18 to 16. I think if they made it like 14 to 12 in this game mode, maybe he could compete by just having a much shorter cooldown taunt so that he could like double taunt way more often, right? I think that might make him viable, but outside of that, like he's obviously balanced on being able to hit like 5 people with his abilities, to be able to shield 4 people with his ult, and that just doesn't translate well into this game mode. Gangplank, okay, so this one's a bit controversial, and I've seen this both sides. I think Gangplank's actually A tier right now. It's a bit hard to say, and I don't know if he's A tier or B tier, but Gangplank does so much damage right now. Maybe I'll just put him in B tier to be safe. But he does so much damage because Gangplank is always scaled well after they did the changes, right? And with all the pen and all that stuff, well, I think B tier is probably better for him. Yeah, he's really, 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 really strong. He does so much damage. But the thing is, being able to do a lot of damage isn't unique. Everyone does a lot of damage. So I think actually B tier is probably more fair to him. He's good, but he's not like, oh, a big damage man isn't very unique. Garen, okay, this is going to be a shocker, but Garen, actually I'm going to put an A tier. Garen's ability to just destroy one champion and remove them from the game, as well as execute tanks, execute anyone who plays at low HP, anyone like that, is really, really good. His ability to get 25% armor shred on his E for his teammate is really good. Sounds weird, but every time I've played with and against Garen, he's actually super goddamn hard to deal with. His Q silence shuts you down from doing anything. You can't dodge it or anything. It's not a skill shot. So he just runs at you. Teammate does anything. Q silence, E, and you're dead. He can also get 2 ultimates, which is strong because that means you can just double ult if you're at half health and you're just dead. From half health to dead. Many champions can't deal with that. Yeah, Garen is just really strong in this game mode. Really strong. And I'm not saying he's the best, obviously. He can't deal with poke comps. He can't deal... there's some champions he will never be able to get to half HP anyway. Tank comps will probably never get to half HP against Garen unless he has a teammate who does damage, and that's why, you know, it's a team game mode. If Garen has a teammate who does damage, who can lower people's HP, then yes, he can ult and execute them. He's just very, very strong right now in this game mode. Just very strong. Gnar... C or D? Probably D. So Gnar's whole thing is he stuns a team and then he stuns them again. But in a 2v2 game mode, you're only stunning 2 people. Lots of champions have single target stuns. So instead of like, in like the normal game mode, he can, like if Fiddlesticks has a 2-second fear, that's great. Gnar does a 1.5-second stun to 5 people, which is better, right? But in this game mode, he can only hit 2 people, potentially. Also, there's no laning phase, and there's no early game for him to abuse. Also, there's no split pushing for him to abuse. Also, everyone can get 900 movement speed. Well, not everyone, but you can at least get to 500 to 600 pretty consistently. So Gnar's shtick, if you want to call it that, isn't very unique. I'm not saying he's bad, and there's definitely some comps you can play him in. I agree, there's definitely a lot of comps you can play Gnar in. But as of now, I would say Gnar is... not that great. Gragas, I'm putting in F tier. They probably will balance him in the future. In fact, I think I should honestly put a tier below F for Gragas. For those of you who don't know, Gragas was super broken in this game mode. So what they did is they removed body slam, reducing its cooldown when you hit someone. Great, he can't infinite body slam anymore. But now he doesn't do anything at all. He's not very high damage. Like, he's a mage, so obviously he can do damage, but everyone does damage. But his damage isn't very consistent. It can be dodged. He can't get melee off him because he body slams, and now it's on like a 14-second cooldown or something. Like, now he's dead. Cool, right? Like, there's no laning phase. There's nothing for him to use his passive on. He just doesn't do anything. That's it. It's just like they just obliterated the champion. Now, it was probably good to make him that, because otherwise he'd be S+++, because he just perma-stunned people with all the ability haste and stuff. But as for this game mode, he seems to be one of the only characters they've actually like gone out of their way to balance, and he's just useless. Now, I don't think they should give him back body slam getting -3, because then he'd be S++. Should they be -2 cooldown, -1? No, because you could go infinite even at -1. I know it sounds absurd, but trust me on this. So what should they do? I think in this game mode, Gragas' passive should be reduced to like a 4-second cooldown instead of 12, so that he can heal a lot more, so he can kind of, you know, heal up, keep his health up, play more at range, right? I think that would be a good thing. Maybe make it more on level as well. I think right now it heals like 6% health. Maybe make it like a 4-second cooldown and it heals like 6 to even maybe 10% health, so that Gragas can play more mid-range and stuff like that, right? But, yeah, realistically speaking, and this is just my opinion, I would not like to see Infinite Body Slam Gragas back. I think they should just buff the shit out of his passive and make him more of like a kiting sort of mid-range character that can keep his health up. Because I think that's more what they intended with him anyway. It's just, it was really overpowered on Summoner's Rift. So why not bring back the intended Gragas playstyle of being a mid-range heal champ and put it in this game mode, right? Okay. Graves, I'm putting in B tier. Smokescreen can screw people. He's not very good, I don't think, but like as an AD carry that can go late game, he's quite good. Now, everyone does have armor pen, so he kind of does poor. But overall, Graves can do a lot of damage. He can hurt people a lot. Smokescreen can screw certain people over because damage can be so high you can get smokescreened and then just get giga exploded. I would say he's fine. He's good. He's good. He's just not amazing, I would say. B tier's probably fine. Yeah. Gwen, I'm going to put in C tier. So, I don't know why. I don't know how to explain it. I don't really know. You'd think Gwen would be completely broken. You'd think she would utterly dominate this game mode. You'd think so, but at the end of the day, no. I don't really know why. I don't know why either. I don't know. No one knows, right? And because of that, the champion's just kind of weak. Not weak, but just average. I think that's fair. She's just average. I don't know. Like, you'd think with the insane % health damage, you'd think with the insane scaling that she would be just, well, insane. And every time I fight her, I think, oh, that's kind of annoying, but not really, doesn't really hurt me, right? Like, I mean, it does hurt, but like everyone hurts, right? So it's not blowing my mind, I guess is what I'm saying. Hecarim, I'm also going to put in C tier. I definitely think there are some augments. If you can get ethereal weapons and your Q applies on hits, yeah, you can do some messed up shit with Hecarim and you can obliterate people. You can also get him insane movement speed and then his passive goes crazy, right? But much like a lot of these champions, he relies on killing people who are under his level, on snowballing from the jungle. And so because of that, Hecarim tends to not do that well. He tends to get one-shot by the one-shotters. He can't get tanky through just out-leveling people. A lot of Hecarim builds rely on just having like a 3-level advantage on people, and that's why you're tanky. You're tanky because you're a higher level. He can't do that. A lot of people can go ethereal weapons as well. It's not like it's unique to him. Hell, you can have ethereal weapons brand and have the dot of your passive be applying Nashor's Tooth, right? But does that make brand good? It makes him playable, but yeah, you can't stack his Q anywhere. You have to be in combat. There's just a lot of issues with Hecarim, so I'm gonna keep him in C tier. He's fine. You're not trolling your team, but you kind of need to like give your team if you're gonna play this in solo queue, give your teams a head up. Be like, hey man, I'm gonna play Hecarim. We gotta do something with that. Heimerdinger shockingly goes into S++++ tier. Heimerdinger I actually think should be disabled from this game mode, straight up. I do not think that his gameplay can work well in this game mode. I know it sucks, and I know people would want to play him, but I think what they would need to do to balance him would be so unfun. that it would actually just ruin the champion. They would need to do something where like he's limited to one turret, and that would be absurd, and no one would want to play that. The problem is Heimerdinger controls the zone. You can't go into him or you die. He has so many augments that break the champion. He's got like 5 different augments that if he gets, he can just win the game. It's absurd. If you know how to play him, you just poke with missiles. If they try to run in you, grenade, insta-gib. If they try to dive, you run away, put down big turret, go grab fruit, reset. That's the thing too. Remember, the fruit that you grab, the plants that you eat reset your cooldowns. So he plants down 3 turrets. Oh no, he's being poked out. He shoots missiles back at you. Goes in autos a plant a little bit, heals up. And the thing is, yes, like he is technically beatable. I'm sure technically you can beat him with maybe like if you do like a hardcore Caitlyn anti-Heimer comp, maybe hypothetically. But then the thing is, once you start adding anyone else, if you add anyone else on Heimer's team, give him a Maokai, give him an Alistar, give him a Zyra, that one seems to be popular, give him anyone else. And all of a sudden, all these comps that can maybe start dealing with Heimer's turrets, they're just getting chewed out by the second person. So, oh, you can do Caitlyn. Yeah, right up until Zyra is on his team. And then Zyra plants and Heimer missiles are poking out Caitlyn, who constantly loses HP. And the zone is closing in, so you need to move in closer and closer. And your HP is going down. And all of a sudden, Heimer pumps his ult missiles. And Caitlyn is chunked from half. Like, there's just so little you can do about Heimer. There's so little you can do about him. Yeah. Just S+++. Honestly, I would want him disabled from this game mode. Just straight up, I think he should be disabled. At best, if you want to try to keep him playable, I think he should be limited to 2 turrets. That means he can only stack to 2 as well. So he can't stack to 3, put down 3, right? Because like right now he puts down 3 turrets, hits some plants, gets some turret charges back. They kill a turret, you put one down. They kill a turret, you put one down. They kill a turret, you put one down. The opposing team is sitting there like, well, wait a minute. It's so broken. Like, honest to God, you would have to limit him to like 1 turret. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And the thing is, if you actually know how to zone and space properly with him, you can start killing people at range at well. So like, yeah, I'll just leave it there. Okay, Allowie. I'm gonna put Allowie in B tier. I didn't think Allowie was very good. That's my opinion. I didn't think Allowie was very good, but I keep fighting more and more Allowie teams, and I think if they got better at the game, it would be more devastating. There's a lot of things she can do. She's not really augment reliant, not really. And if she reaches late game, her Vessel can start doing like 80 to 90% of your health. Now it can be really hard late game to hit people with how much mobility you have. But the question is everyone counter building Allowie? Probably not. Is she good against AD carry comps? Probably not. Can she counter a lot of comps? Yeah. If you're trying to do a Taric comp, you know, Allowie ults and bam, they're going to have to use Taric ult in that. And a lot of Taric comps are going to have to use ult in a lot of ways, right? You can pull a Spirit Vessel out of someone and then beat the shit out of the Spirit Vessel, and now their person's down to like 10% health. There's a lot Allowie can do. I think she's strong, but she's not above a B tier. She's strong. She can beat some comps. She is difficult for some people to deal with, but she's definitely beatable. And I don't think she's overpowered, even slightly. Anything at like S tier probably should eat some nerfs somewhere. A tier and below are probably just fine. It just is like how they work. Probably Cassiopeia could use a little bit of a tune down. Maybe Garen as well. Maybe Fizz. Like maybe A tier, I also suggest like a small tune down. But like B tier is fine. I don't think anyone in B tier should be nerfed at all. Not really. Irelia. Oh god, I almost want to put Irelia in F tier. Did I just put Irelia in F tier? So the problem is Irelia can't stack up her passive, which alone makes her pretty bad. I think I just put Irelia in F tier. She can't stack up her passive, which makes her pretty bad. She can't abuse people early game, which makes her pretty bad. There's a lot of ways to escape from her, so that makes her pretty bad. There's a lot of things she doesn't really do. She can't really play the game. She's balanced on Summoner's Rift with being able to Q to minions and stack up her passive. She's balanced on her level 1 power spike. She's balanced on killing people, taking turret plates, getting an early Blade of the Ruined King, and then 4-shotting people. That's where her balance is right now. I would say if you know how to play Irelia in Summoner's Rift, she's quite devastating. If you know how to play her in this game mode, it doesn't matter, you suck. That's it. Ivern, I'm going to put an S tier. Some people debate this, but the problem with Ivern is he's still really overpowered in Summoner's Rift, which just sort of translates into this game mode. There's a lot of on hits that he can put on Daisy from augments. I think I'm not entirely sure, but I think he can even give Daisy Firebrand. So like he can just have much like Annie, he can just have Daisy chase after people and obliterate them. I'm pretty sure Daisy can use Firebrand unless they patch that, but I think yesterday I got obliterated by Daisy Firebrand. I tried to turn to kill the Daisy to stop it from chasing me, and I just died, and I was like, huh? So, yeah, he's really goddamn strong. Now, the problem is, obviously, he's not going to beat the S+++ tier champions, and there's obviously counters to him. You can obviously run him down. He's not unbeatable. I would just say he's very, 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 very strong right now. But again, I think a lot of that is just he's overpowered in Summoner's Rift, and because he's overpowered in Summoner's Rift, that means that he'll kind of just be overpowered in the other game mode. Not all the time, but generally speaking, if a champion is overtuned, they're just going to continue to be overtuned in this game mode. Janna, okay, I have not fought with or against Janna at all, even once, which means that she's probably bad. But on the other hand, it probably means people just don't play enchanters. Why? Because they're losers. Real men know when it's time to play an enchanter. I would say she's fine. C tier, she's probably fine. Enchanter items are really good in this game mode to compensate for the fact you only support one person and you can't like AoE buff a team or anything like that. She's probably fine. I can't really imagine her being weak. Not really. That's my opinion. I don't really have anything else to say because I've never played with her or against her. Oh no, I think I played with her once. She did okay. That's probably fine. She's okay. Jarvan goes into F tier. Jarvan's balance, you might keep hearing this, is based on perma ganking people at level 3. Then building damage. And then if he gets ahead, he uses his levels for survivability. In fact, I think I might just put Jarvan in D tier. D or F? I think I might put him in D tier. Maybe. You can kind of make him work early game. I think F tier, I need to keep F tier reserved for like the truly abysmal champions. D tier is just the bad ones. So yeah, he's based on level 3 ganking. He's sort of like, the thing is, I think Jarvan would be fine if they just buffed his W shield in this game mode and unnerfed Gore Drinker in this game mode. Literally just unnerfing Gore Drinker and then buffing his W in this game mode, and I think he'd be fine. I know that sounds like a lot, but like, yeah, that's literally it. Just like make his W, I think it's like a 0.7 AD ratio. Like maybe tone that up to like a 1.0 AD ratio. Increase the health ratio to 2% so he gets to shield more. Because the thing is, he can only use his shield against 2 people, not 5, right? So buff like the health ratio on his shield to like 2%, maybe even 3%, so you can do like a tanky Jarvan build more easier. So like make his shield like 3% instead of the 1.3% it is now. Then, you know, make the AD ratio maybe 1. Unnerf Gore Drinker, right? Just do that stuff and I think he'd be fine. Like, he's not bad. He just like, he's giga nerfed because on Summoner's Rift he spam ganks. He spam ganks and then snowballs on that, right? So it doesn't translate well into this game mode. It's just D tier. Jax, I'm conflicted on Jax. He's either B tier or A tier. It really depends on who he fights, in my opinion. And I think I'll put him in A tier for that one. Basically, depending on who he fights, Jax is either really good or really not good. If he fights a double tank comp, he can struggle because he just gets CC'd to death. If he fights an AD carry comp, he can dodge it. If he fights a dive comp, he can typically counter-strike and outburst them, right? So, depending on who he fights, he's either going to do really good or he's going to do really bad. Now, that comes from Riot. They have pushed a lot of champions on Summoner's Rift to be counterpicks. Jax, in particular, keeps getting pushed really hard as a counterpick. Can Jax deal with Annie? No, Annie will obliterate Jax. Can Jax deal with Ivern? No, Ivern will obliterate Jax. Can he deal with Mundo? If he builds right and fights him. Can he deal with Heimer? Absolutely not. Can he deal with Cassiopeia? Absolutely not. Can he beat Garen? 100% late game. Can he beat a lot of these champions? Yeah. It's just like, I put him in A tier, but I wouldn't really call him good. I would just call him a weird counter pick. And it's kind of unfun to even have him in this game mode, because he just kind of counterpicks some teams and doesn't do a lot in other teams, right? It's just kind of unfun, I guess. Jace, a lot of people rate Jace really highly, and I don't know where I would go with it, but I'm going to just put him in A tier preemptively. I have not fought a single Jace. I saw a bunch of tier lists where they rate him highly, and I saw like one dude playing him. Jace has not been a bad scaling champion in quite some time. With his AD ratios buffed so hard, Jace scales really, really hard. He's really overtuned on Summoner's Rift, which kind of just translates, much like Jax, it kind of just translates into this game mode. He's really, really strong on Summoner's Rift, and he just does a shitload of damage here. And I have not personally played him. I don't really like him at all, but I suspect that he would end up being really, really good here. Because melee Q into auto into E is going to remove like 3/4 of a champion's health very, very easily. Jace isn't keystone reliant, so maybe Jax would be higher tier if like he could start with lethal tempo, but he doesn't. It's like his early game damage suffers. Jace's early game damage is insane because he's Jace. So I don't really have anything more to say. He can just one-shot people. That's pretty good. Jhin, I'm gonna put in C tier. There's some augments that can make Jhin okay. He can do okay with some champions, some tanks, right? Like he can sit back in range and shoot people. There's an absolute crap load of armor pen in this game mode. So like lethality Jhin, that sort of stuff can kill people. He's fine. Like he's one of the more mobile ADCs, so he can definitely play around some team comps, right? Like he's never gonna get hit by Allowie. He's never gonna get hit by Gangplank. He's never going to get hit by Amumu, right? Or at the very least, he shouldn't. So, realistically speaking, particularly if you can get the additional range, he can just kite everyone into the ground and just do well. But, you know, the thing is, it's reliant. He needs to not get just hard dove. He needs to fight champions he can kite. He's just average. Not good, not bad. If you're good at Jhin, you might be able to play him well. If you're bad at Jhin, you might not be able to play him well. Also, the move speed boots are buffed to 40% slow resist. So unlike the vanilla, when he can kind of get slowed to death, in this game mode, he really can't. There's basically no way you can slow him to death. He'll always outrun it. Jinx, I haven't played against her or with her, so I'm going to be blunt. I don't really have an opinion other than I'm sure Jinx is not good. Jinx's whole thing is she sits back in range and shoots people. That's it. Can she 1v1? Not really. Can she 2v2? Kind of. That's about it. Her whole thing is sitting in a team fight and rocketing and then ulting into the team fight. It doesn't translate well into this game mode. She's just clearly balanced for Summoner's Rift, not for this game mode. And so because of that, she just doesn't do good. Kai'Sa. Now obviously all AD carries are doing really bad in this game mode, so Kai'Sa gets S+++. Kai'Sa does such absolutely ludicrous sustained damage that there are very few team comps that can ever beat her. She is phenomenally overtuned in Summoner's Rift, and because of that, she is ridiculously overtuned in this game mode. In addition, I haven't verified it myself, but some people have said that how her Q functions breaks the ethereal weapons your abilities apply on hits. So, because her passive also counts as an on-hit, there's a lot of builds that kind of break the champion. There's a lot of things that break the champion. She's massively overtuned on Summoner's Rift, and she's massively overtuned in this game mode. Obviously, I think like if it's Kai'Sa against like Heimer, it's gonna be like a skill matchup. You know, who can one shot who can, you know, can he poke her down, or, you know, like obviously. But like, my God, there are very few champions that can survive through Kai'Sa. I have been stunned for 2 seconds, and I've taken 6,000 damage from her. I have taken I was playing Mundo, and I think I took 12,000 damage from her in a few seconds. Like, we're talking 3 seconds, I took 12,000 damage. She is just ludicrously overtuned in this game mode. Like, you have to build anti-Kai'Sa. Lots of people are just climbing using only Kai'Sa, because if you don't have an anti-Kai'Sa comp, she just kills you from full with no counterplay. It's not fun. That's it. Kalista. Boy, I think we put Kalista in C tier. She's okay. You'd think she'd be good in this game mode, and maybe eventually she's good, but Kai'Sa just isn't a scaling champion, has never been a scaling champion, has always been a lane bully into a mid-game champion, has always been about the fact that her ultimate is a knock-up, potentially a 2-second knock-up, therefore it immunes through and doesn't hit tenacity, but CC in this game mode is pretty common, ability haste is pretty easy to get. Kai'Sa just doesn't do that much. She's okay, firmly okay, not amazing, not bad. Karma, I'm going to put in B tier, but I might even put her in A tier. I am not a good Karma, and she can break the game. Not break the game, but she can get a lot of augments that allow her. You literally just sit there and you're doing this on your keyboard because you have so much ability haste and you're just activating so many abilities. At a certain point, I've actually gotten limited by like animations on her and literally my brain processing things. Like literally, you'll do like Q, W, E, then you need to press R for your Q already, and you're like trying to process like where okay, I need to like shield Q and shield, and your mouse is just flying around the field. So I definitely think there's a little bit to playing Karma that you need to do. I would say she's like firmly maybe A or B tier. I definitely think if people play her well, she will do pretty well. She doesn't have the best AP ratios though, and that severely limits her, is her only issue. Because they nerfed her AP ratios deliberately to make her not scale so that she couldn't be played top lane in Summoner's Rift. That does translate into this game mode, meaning she doesn't scale the best. So I don't know. I'm struggling between B and A. I might say if people better than me play Karma, maybe she's better, so maybe I just put her in A tier. Like you can build her tanky, shield spam. Like if you have a bruiser, maybe you do bruiser Karma and she just chain CCs people. Maybe A tier is good. I don't know. I'll put her in A tier just because. Karthus, I don't think much of Karthus. So the whole I die and then I still cast things, it's like funny and it's unique, but as you might imagine, half his balance comes into he ults and then he kills a bunch of people with his ult. Right? Ta-da! We did it, everyone, right? Like, we solved the mystery of Karthus. He typically tries to kill people who are under his level, who he's doing a shitload of damage to when he starts half health chunking people, right? Like, so yeah, and that's the other thing. If Karthus dies second, he can't even like ult to try to get a revenge kill. The round just ends. And, you know, you might think that that's lame, and maybe it is lame. Maybe the other side would be lame. At either rate, unlike Sion or some of these other champions, although Sion does lose if he dies first. I think some other champions can get revenge wins. Like Anivia, if she wins in her egg, she still wins the round. Karthus doesn't. If he goes into passive and he's the second one to die, his team just loses. It literally doesn't matter. Even if you kill the opposing team afterwards, you still lose the round. Do you get it? So, yeah. Let's just say he's not doing great. Kassadin, I'm also going to put in D tier, but I'm a little bit torn on Kassadin. Maybe C tier. I definitely think there's some comps he can do good in, and he can always, like, he's going to lose level 3, he's going to lose level 4, but level 6 and above, he can start maybe hitting some comps. If he can win some games early, and then he can start scaling, maybe he can do something, right? But again, he needs to be an anti-mage comp. He needs to be an anti-mage, like, he needs to be fighting mages. This is not a big surprise. He can get killed, but, like, I would say he's fine. Just not, like, he's not blowing my mind. He's, like, average, right? Katarina, I'm going to put in D tier. You can play her. She can do okay. If you fight the right comp and you have the right teammate, you can do okay. She's not unplayable. I'm not putting her in F tier, but, like, you know, her whole thing is I jump on people and one-shot them. And I kill under-leveled enemies and then snowball the game. Well, you can't snowball in this game. Now, obviously, there are some things you can do that break the game, as always. I'm pretty sure if you get ethereal weapons, your ult can, like, apply on hits twice or something. It's a bit weird, but, you know, generally speaking, you can do some things. You can make her okay. She is okay. She's not blowing my mind. but she's just not very good. Kayle, okay. I'm torn between S tier and A tier for Kayle. I think a lot of people are overrating her. I know it sounds weird, but I do think some people are overrating her, but maybe they're underrating her. Now, Kayle can scale really well, but she can also get knocked out of the game early. If she gets to late game, she's obviously late game Kayle. But on the other hand, if a team is legitimately losing to Kayle while trying their best at level 3, 4, and 5, because she doesn't have lethal tempo, she can't use lethal tempo to get through the early game. So if you're legitimately losing to level 3 and 4 Kayle, there's probably something wrong with you. At level 6, she does get an item for the level 6 fight, so maybe at level 6 she can start doing with something, but realistically, I think Kayle shouldn't get out of the early game with much health on her team. She should probably be down to like 10 health just from the early game, at which point, whoever is fighting her should have full health, and yeah, so basically what's going to come down to late game, and I think a lot of people notice this, late game Kayle can start killing people very, very easily, and there is too much pen in the game. But the thing is, there are a lot of things you can do late game that infinitely kill Kayle. And people think like, oh, if you get killed a late game, you automatically win. Sure, unless she gets poked out by Heimerdinger, unless she gets one shot by Kai'Sa, unless she gets ringed out by Alistar, unless she gets chased down and she has to blow her ult because Annie, Tibbers, or Daisy are chasing her around killing her, unless she gets flash one shot because there was like an Annie stun or something like that. So like Kayle is beatable. I think she's definitely very, very, very strong. And maybe I'm undervaluing her, but like the only reason I think a lot of people are valuing her highly because other people are valuing her highly. But like at the end of the day, are people playing Kayle to climb? No, they're playing Kai'Sa. And doesn't that say something? Everyone's choosing Kai'Sa over Kayle. Kayn S++. I can explain this one really easily. They changed the item that reduces your cooldowns, your ultimate cooldown when you kill an enemy, the lethality item. That got changed, and instead of reducing your ultimate cooldown when you kill an enemy, it gives you plus 25% more ult damage. Then they buffed Serelda's to 40% pen. They gave it a rune. They gave you augment, which can give you like 15 lethality. They gave you another augment that can give you 30% penetration. They buffed almost all lethality items in the game. So as you might imagine, Kayn is using that and one-shotting people. Literally one-shotting people. I'm talking, he goes Q, ult, and then they're dead. Now, does that have counterplay? Sure, it can be beaten. Kayle can beat that. Taric can try to beat that. But at the end of the day, he does one-shot you. He just straight up one-shots you. Like, I have to permaban him because I don't want to deal with it. You could play a 12,000 health Mundo, he one-shots it. You could play anything, he one-shots it. And the thing is, he doesn't have to like play into Kayle and like just stand there and be like, now I will ult you. Like he can, like after he ults, yes, he's building mostly lethality, but he'll still have to die, right? And he can get augments that can allow him to just ult again. So he can literally ult, then ult again. And maybe Kayle gets the same augment, and then she can ult twice. But now we're relying on a lot of stuff here. And he can go hit plants and get his ult cooldown back. And if someone doesn't have a Kayle, then they're just dead from full. You can try to shield spam. You can try to get willing sacrifice. There are things... Like, Kayn is beatable. I would say of the S++s, he's probably the weakest. But the thing is, the entire game gets warped around him. Everyone has to take augments and items and everything just to beat Kayle. Literally, everyone must build to beat Kayn. Everyone must build to beat Kayn or he one-shots you. And that's just not fun, and it warps the entire game around him. So I would put him in S++. Broken. Completely broken. Kennen, I'm putting it at C tier. So the two things that Kennen does well, he can't obviously do well in this game mode, right? He can't AoE entire teams, he can only AoE 2 people. And he can't dominate the laning phase, he can only play the 2v2s. So his whole thing is, I'm a teamfight bully. Okay, but like, there's no 5v5s and there's no laning phase. Now obviously mage items are buffed and he can do okay. Like he still has a decent 1v1 because he does so much burst. Not amazing, but it's okay. He still can stun 2 people. Hypothetically, he can do okay. You know, he's fine. Nothing remarkable about him. It's just like on Summoner's Rift, he's really overtuned to the point of absurdity. On this, not so much. He's okay. Kha'Zix. I'm going to put Kha'Zix in C tier. There are some comps that work with Kha'Zix. Mord Kha'Zix can be pretty funny. Mord ults someone, then Kha'Zix tries to kill whoever is left. Problem is, most of the time, unfortunately, what happens is... So what happens most of the time, and this is a bit unfortunate for Kha'Zix, he just can't beat them 1v1. Like, he just can't beat them. It's like a super Mundo, or it's a Kale, or it's a Jace who just Q auto E's and 3/4 his health is gone, and he's stunned, and he's knocked back. Or Cassiopeia, oops, she lands a miasma under him, he's dead from full, because she just miasmas into Q. He goes visible E, he tries to stealth again, you know. He gets revealed by Aatrox, you know, like, a lot of times he just can't win the 1v1. Like, you know, like, Annie is standing next to Tibbers, Ivern is standing next to Daisy, Mundo is 12,000 health, Alistar is in his ultimate, right? Like, a lot of times he just can't win the 1v1. I would put him in firmly average. There's definitely a way he can win, but realistically speaking, it's not really that amazing. Kindred, I have fought a few times. Her DPS is insane. Her abilities are insane. But I don't know. I think I just might put Kindred as average. At first, it looked like Kindred was like Giga Turbo broken. In fact, maybe I should just put Kindred in B tier. It did look like it did look like Kindred was like Giga Turbo broken. And I think a lot of people thought that. And now she's merely strong. The problem is, so she does get free stacks every round, and that's really good. But the problem is Kindred can mostly get free stacks in Summoner's Rift anyway by just being one of the best early game junglers. Her ultimate is okay, but it gets countered by like Counter Strike. It gets countered by Jace, just jumps in. It gets countered by Kale ult. It can be countered by Ivern giving a Giga Shield right as it ends, Annie stunning him. It can be countered by Mundo ulting right as it ends. It can be countered by Alistar just stunning her, knocking her out of it, right? So like, there's a lot of counters to her ultimate. Yeah. Kled. I honestly think Kled, I might count him ironically in disabled tier. But okay, so I can explain this. In this mode, everyone gets bonus HP, right? Unfortunately, that bonus HP is applying to Kled's base form and not to his mounted form. They might patch it and they might fix it and that would make him better, but overall, Kled is a lane bully who does not scale. They buffed his QAD ratio, but he still just does not scale. And because the HP improperly applies to his base form, he can remount, but he just... like, he remounts and he doesn't get much health back from it. Everyone is sitting around with like 600 health. That 600 health, if he could remount and get like 500, that's 600 health, right? Yeah, it just is bad. They might patch it, they might fix it, so, you know, he'd probably be like in D tier if he could remount with more HP. But in my opinion, I think they should remove the remount cooldown, or at the very least put it down to like 5 to 10 seconds. Because in this game mode, you remember the remount cooldown is only there because people don't typically heal a lot. People don't typically, like, for the laning phase it needs a cooldown, but with plants and things like that, and maybe at the least make plants reduce his passive cooldown, his remount cooldown, right? Because he gets knocked off, he remounts, he gets knocked off again, and now he needs to kite for 30 seconds of a round that can literally only last for 1 minute because it has overtime. That's not very doable, right? So honestly, I think Kled, if he gets bug fixed, maybe he goes to D tier, and then I think they need to just remove his mount cooldown, or I think 5 seconds would be fair. So like maybe 10 seconds at most, right? So just reduce it is what I'm trying to say. And with that, I think he would firmly be in C tier and be fine. But for now, I'm just going to put him in F tier. He's just no good. Kog'Maw, I'm going to put in A tier. I might put him in S tier. We'll see. So basically, the thing with Kog'Maw is he does 10 trillion DPS. That's it. That's the meme. That's the joke. A lot of comps can't deal with a champion who does 10 trillion DPS. That's it. There's nothing really like funny about this. He just does 10 trillion DPS. I don't know, maybe he's B tier. Maybe I should put him in B tier to be fair. But yeah, like, oh no, I'm playing any champion. If you can't one-shot Kog'Maw, he just does 10 trillion DPS. Now, obviously, I think, in all honesty, I think I put Kog'Maw in B tier. The problem is, so many champions counter that and also do 10 trillion DPS, or they just one-shot you anyway. But I definitely... He can get bonus range, is the thing. If he gets a bonus range augment, he can outrange everyone in the world, and if he does that, he can literally have you dead before you can get in range, meaning you have to flash into range to hurt him. And as you might imagine, that can be difficult to do, because you can only get one flash every other round. So if your team can't flash into him because they used it the last round, then some teams just can't ever get in range, and he just, by the time you get in range, he's auto-attacked 5 times and you're dead. That's it. Nothing more to say, really. K'Sante, F tier. Don't really need to go into it, to be honest. He doesn't have his laning phase. He can't, like, the map doesn't allow him to pull someone away from their team so hard. There's so much healing and shielding in this game mode that, like, doing % health damage doesn't just make you win. Like, Vayne doesn't win because she does % health damage. Vayne wins because she has a shitload of physical damage and % health damage. True damage, I should specify. K'Sante just doing like a couple 4% health true damages, that's not going to kill a tank who can constantly be healing and shielding % health, right? So he's no good. He's no good in this game mode. You also need to remember he's giga over nerfed because he's so good in 5v5ing and surviving the laning phase. Okay. LeBlanc, I'm going to put in C tier. I think there's definitely an argument that, like, you can do some LeBlanc builds and you can, like, make Lich Bane apply on hit, and maybe you do like a funny Lich Bane one shot where it opens with Lich Bane and then your Ethereal Chain hits and it procs another Lich Bane. Like, there's definitely some things you can do with this champion to do like giga one-shotting, and I mean like giga across the map one-shotting. But she's just average, and that's the thing. She's an assassin. She's balanced on killing champions who are under-leveled, then snowballing, then getting really fed, then being so fed that she's killing tanks and stuff. Like, that's where her balance is, and in this game mode, you literally cannot do that. Lee Sin, I'm gonna put in D tier. I don't think much of Lee Sin in this game mode. He did get buffed, and he is better, I agree, but like his whole balance is being an early game spam ganking jungler and insecting people back into his team. But he can't do that in this game mode. I mean, he could kick people into his team of one person. So, yeah. Yeah. Nothing much more to say than that. He doesn't translate well into this game. There is a lot of C tier, I agree, and that's because C tier is, yeah, they're probably fine tier. A lot of champions aren't going to go above and beyond. It's a new game mode. A lot of champions just won't translate well into this game mode. And some champions will just be fine in this game mode. And some champions will just be outrageously good in this game mode. Because remember, you do not respawn round to round. I mean, you respawn like in the next round, right? But like you don't respawn. So like Garen doing like a flash ignite ult killing someone, right? In the normal game, it's like, oh yeah, that's like strong, but like, you know, he can get back in the game. In this game mode, that wins a round and then you automatically lose the game. So yeah, Leona, I'm gonna put in C tier as well. She's not the strongest tank, but she's not the weakest. With the right augments, she can be ridiculously hard to kill, gaining a 6% health shield every time she stuns someone on a champion who can stun someone this many times, on top of having her W shield reduce damage by a flat amount. So it helps mitigate, because like in this game mode, you can have like your spells apply on hits, and then your on hits apply a dot, and then your dot applies a blah 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 blah, right? Like, it might not seem like it, but Leona's flat damage reduction on her W can actually mitigate such a absolutely insane amount of damage. even 24 damage reduction can be proccing like 4 times a second. I'm not even joking. So she's deceptively tanky because of how this game mode works, and she's fine. She's not overpowered, but she's fine. La 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 la. Okay, this is gonna be a bit shocking, but I'm gonna put her into S tier. Lulala is kind of like Cassiopeia, but even better in a lot of ways. I don't know a better way to put that. She, even though you can't, okay, so you can't stack her abilities unless you hit a champion, right? But she can just continuously fish, and then she can get insane mobility without even stacking her Q. Then when she does stack her Q, she can literally enter a point of not being hittable. And there are certain maps like the set map where she can stack up her abilities on set and then go to 1200 movement speed and kill everyone, right? I think Lilia, I could be wrong about this, but I think she's so extremely strong. Maybe I should put her in A tier, to be fair. But she can't beat some burst mages, I agree. She can't beat some stuff like that, I agree. But then there's stuff like, I mean, there's just a lot of champions who can't really deal with her in return. Now, I do agree, maybe I should put her in A tier because AD carries are gunning her down. So maybe from that perspective, she's not doing too good. Because AD carries can just gun her down at range and kind of bypass her. So maybe that's fair. I don't know. Lissandra. Okay, I'm debating where I put Lissandra. Because I'm going to be blunt. I actually played one game of her. I think she's better than she gets credit. Her CC is insane. Her ability to go invulnerable is insane. Her hard-coded stun against mobile champions is insane. If she fights Kale, she can self-ult to buy time. If she gets Zanya's Hourglass augment, she can self-ult into Zanya's into self-ult again. She has... I think she has the longest... And hypothetically, you could Kale ult into Zanya's into Kale ult, but it doesn't do that much. Lissandra has a lot of uptime and invulnerability, I think. And a lot of other champions don't. Plus, I think the difference between Lissandra and Kale is Lissandra can aim for things like the item haste. She can aim for things like the prismatic Zanyas, so you can Zanyas into a Zanyas, so you can ult into a Zanyas, into an ult into a Zanyas, into an ult into a Zanyas. I shit you not, I'm actually pretty sure that works, if I'm not wrong. And she can aim for that because she does a lot of damage in between it, right? Where she just WQs, her W is an instant cast, so she can literally just WR, right? And so I think she's better than people give credit, particularly because her Q cooldown is decently low with a decent AP ratio, not super low. She's got good burst. She has the ability to jump over walls. She can flash ult and instantly zero cooldown, or I should say zero animation stun people. Like, I don't think she's like good. Here's the funny thing. I don't think at B tier Lissandra is even good. Not really. I just think that like she's better than other mages. And I think there's like basically no reason. Like, why would you take Lissandra over Kale? You probably wouldn't, right? You probably wouldn't. Why would you take Lissandra over Annie? Once again, you probably wouldn't. But the thing is, she does a lot of different things and can take a lot of different augments and can go for one-shot build. She can go for invulnerable stun build. She can go for, here's the other funny thing. She can go for the overtime cheese build. She's just got a lot of things she can do. I think it's probably fair. I don't know. I think she's better than people give her credit, but I don't think anyone will play her because there's other champions who just do her job but better. It's confusing, but yeah, that's how I would describe her. Lucian C tier. He's like really good with certain champions and can kind of dominate early to mid game, but then you get the late game and he starts falling off. Shockingly, you can't end the game in the early game. You can't snowball off the early game. So the two things he's known for in Summoner's Rift, he can't do. He can't snowball out the game, and he can't end it early. C tier. He's fine. He's not like bad. The ability to be really strong early game is fine, but kind of like Lissandra, I think there's literally no person will ever take Lucian. This is kind of an AD carry problem. No one will ever take Lucian because there's literally no reason to take Lucian over Kai'Sa. There's literally no reason to take Lucian over Vayne. Like, they're just him, but better, because they're AD carries, and every AD carry is the same champion, effectively. Okay, Lulu, I'm gonna put in B tier. Polymorph is extremely strong still. Her ultimate is extremely strong still. She's not amazing, but as an enchanter, enchanters are severely underplayed, so maybe I'm putting enchanters at too high of a tier overall. I can't say, but I have seen that Lulu can get really annoying, and particularly if she can get her ult reset enchantment, that one's pretty funny, because she can ult into an ult, so then like Master Yi can just double stun people and kill them. It's pretty funny, that one. Other than that, I mean, she's just good. Enchanters are good. She's fine. I think people will take Lulu over other champions. Like, I don't think anyone will take Janna if they can take Lulu, because Lulu's got the hard polymorph stun that counters a lot. Nothing more to say. Lux, I was kind of putting Lux in F, and I was kind of putting her in D, but I think Lux is a C. So Lux can one-shot people at range, and she can fish for one-shots, and her one-shots are kind of a long range. She can't consistently get one-shots, and obviously people probably shouldn't be getting hit by them. I don't think so. And I don't think anyone should really be getting hit by her abilities ever. But, oh, I don't know, I'll just put in D. I don't know, she can one-shot people. That's her thing. She can, if you play the right comp. Like, if you're playing Heimer, Lux, or Zyra, Lux, maybe you zone and Lux tries to fish for one-shots. That's about it. You know, like, I can hypothetically imagine a world where Lux gets picked. So, I would not put her in F tier. I can hypothetically imagine a world where Lux gets picked to play a second support. Yeah. Well, second range nuker, yeah. Okay. Malphite. Obviously, Malphite is a counter pick. Obviously, he's a counter pick. So it's hard to say what rank I should put him. Is he S? Is he A? Is he B? Where does he go? Where does he come from? Where does he go? Where does he come from? Malphite-eyed Joe. I don't know. I'm gonna be blunt. I don't know. Like, if you take Malphite and they're doing an AD carry comp, you kind of win the game. If you take Malphite and they're doing an AP poke comp, you kind of lose the game. You know, you can swap him into a full AP build and try to one-shot, but you know, he's just obviously worse at that. He's really good though. He's Malphite. He's really overtuned because of Summoner's Rift. If he wasn't overtuned on Summoner's Rift, he would probably be worse here. But here, yeah, he's really good. A, I mean, I think that's the way to put him. Like, he's in between A and B. Like, the way I'd put him is he's not as good as other A tier tanks at all, unless you play him into his good comp. Like, if you play him and you're fighting a physical comp, Malphite's just going to be like, hua, hua, hua. But if you play him into a mage comp, he's going to go, aww. And remember, you only have flash every other round. So if you flash his ult one round, he can come back and win the next round. Do you get it? Yeah. Malzahar, okay, a lot of people have been putting Malzahar in S tier, and I kind of start to agree with it. This is why, in my opinion, I think blanket buffing mage items was a bad idea, because mages like Malzahar have the issue where if everyone is one-shotting people, the guy who has a point-and-click instant suppression one-shot kind of wins. It's really frustrating to deal with, and yeah, because he can also do percent health damage, he can chew through Even if you're doing the Giga Health Bruiser build, he can chew through like 10,000 health very easily. So yeah, just nothing really else to say. I don't have anything to add on to that thought. That's why I disagree with blanket buffing mage items. Okay, Maokai I'm gonna put an A tier. I would say Malphite and Maokai are about equal in power, except Malphite does better into physical teams. Maokai does good into everything, so that makes Maokai stronger. I would say Maokai is stronger because he's good into everything, but Malphite is better into what he's better into. Maokai is really good. He's got really good augment. He's got good healing. He's also got the ability to try to win on ring out because he can knock back with his Q into a root, or root into a Q. He can ult, knock people out. He can do a lot of different things. His saplings can be a bit questionable on some maps and not do anything on some maps, but he's not really that reliant on his saplings doing damage anyway. But he's got extremely good peel. He can keep people alive. With the right augments, he can just focus on using his W and vulnerability spam to kind of like eventually slow cook people to death. Yeah, he's good. I put him in like A tier. Powerful character. Master Yi, I'm gonna put an A tier, even though I think he's like a B tier champion. Because the problem with Master Yi is kind of like the problem with Mundo and Kayn, but less so. If you don't counter build Master Yi, he beats you. If you counter build Master Yi, you can probably beat him. That's about it. He's a stat checker, he just stat checks you. If you counter build him, he beats you. You don't counter build him, yeah, you get it? Like, it's frustrating. He's a frustrating champion, and he's so good. He just rams people down. Yeah. Melio, I'm gonna put in B tier. I've seen a lot of people try Melio. Okay, so the problem is Melio can counter some things with his cleanse. Like, his cleanse can be game breaking. Like, if you cleanse off Lissandra's ult and your AD carry can just one-shot Lissandra, then Lissandra can't ult the AD carry, which means she always needs to ult herself, which, you know, can be difficult to hit people with properly and leaves her open to being one-shot. He's got good peel with his Q, right? So, like, I would say Melio is pretty good. He's a pretty good champion. I would say he's still pretty overtuned in Summoner's Rift. So maybe, in all honesty, maybe I should just put Melio at, I don't know. I think he's fine. I think he's fine. B tier is fine. He's good. He's just not like breaking the game. He's good. He's a good pick. Misfortune F? God, I can't even imagine trying to play Misfortune. Seriously. What? No comment. A no mobility ADC who relies on 4 people standing in front of her. So, okay. Mordekaiser belongs in F tier. No, I mean D tier because he's C tier because he's just average. B tier because he's actually pretty good. But actually, A tier but the Holy Paladin Mordekaiser, the Paladin, the holiest of holy, the Grand God's Hammer Mordekaiser, I would actually put in S tier right now. He is good. I can actually try to explain this for you guys. There's currently a build with Mordekaiser where you stack oh god, you stack heal and shield power with Spirit Visage with what is that item called? Oh my god. Hold on, I need to go look this up. What is it called? Moonstone Renewer. And basically, I can try to explain this mathematically. If Mord shields, let me look up the exact number for this one. Let me look up the exact numbers so I can find them. So Mord's shield is 30% of his health, correct? Yes. So he has 0.3% of his health. That's weird. He shields 0.3% of his health. Then Spirit Visage increases that to 0.39% of his health. Everybody get that? Then it's quite easy and quite cheap to find yourself in even 50% heal and shield power. So actually, he shields himself for 58% of his health. Then he heals himself. Now the heal will unfortunately be reduced. So he actually, let's reduce that by the amount he shields. Oh, 0.26. But then that gets magnified by Spear Visage. Then that gets magnified by your heal and shield power. So Mord then heals 51% of his health by pressing W twice. And he can get much higher heal and shield power than 50% by a lot. So you max W second, you go heal and shield power, you go Spirit Visage, and it is quite common, very common, to see Mordekaiser healing himself to full every time his W is available. It's really fun to play. It's very beatable in my opinion, actually. You can beat it if you go with the anti-shield item and the healing debuff item. The build doesn't really deal much damage. So maybe, in all honesty, maybe I should put this at A tier. But it is so strong, and the thing is, if you get good augments for it, you can kind of go crazy. Mord can do his normal damage build, and it's okay. I mean, it's a late game Mord, right? Like, it's not very scary. But the thing is, it's just a strong build. And much like Mundo, I think you have to basically counter build it to have a chance. I think it's definitely weaker than Mundo. So like of the S tier picks, I would say, of the S tier picks, I would definitely say he's the weakest. He can get stunned to death, yes. He can very easily get stunned to death, but the thing is, once you get Moonstone Renewer, here's what you're not thinking about. Once you get Moonstone Renewer, every time you heal yourself, it heals your ally. Every time you shield yourself, it shields an ally. Or is it the other way around? It's one of those ways. Either way, it's pretty common for late game Paladin Mord to be shielding his ally for like half their health over and over. So you have to stun him from full, and you need to stun him and kill him, or you can't. It's very difficult to kill his ally. So Mord plus X builds are extremely common. Now here's actually, I would say what actually breaks Mord and keeps him in the S tier. Okay, you guys might not believe me on this, but there's currently an augment that attaches you to your ally, right? The conduit. Is it called conduit? I don't remember what it's called. There are augments that make him do a lot of damage, sure. But there's a chauffeur conduit, or what do I call it? The chauffeur augment. Now, if your ally gets chauffeur and they're attached to you as Mord, they're still targetable. Oh no! Most of the time, the enemies just run them down because they can't move on their own and they die. So you do like Chauffeur Cogmon. It's funny because he's attached to you, but then Talon just, not Talon, but someone just runs up and one-shots him, right? Yeah, he's dead. But the thing is, if you Chauffeur to Mord and he ults an enemy, he brings his chauffeured ally into the death realm. Then he gets to 2v1 the enemy. I shit you not, it works like this. He gets to 2v1 the enemy for 7 seconds. Now think about all of what I've just said. So you're going to need a healing debuff, and you're going to need anti-shielding, and you're going to need both of your players to have QSS. That means 3 of your items are going to countering Mord. No, I'm saying he's beatable. He's very beatable. I would say that he is beatable. I agree. He is beatable. But you need to deliberately counter build him, and it is very easy. And remember, you still need enough damage to stun lock him to death, because anytime it's available for him to do damage, as in anytime he's unstunned, he presses W twice and heals back to full, healing an ally. Now here's the other thing. If he gets Circle of whatever it's called, Circle of Death, all his healing converts into magic damage, and then half of his healing becomes magic damage. Now obviously it is reduced by magic resist, so he's not literally one-shotting you, but it can get to the point where every time he goes to heal, you're taking a 2000 magic damage nuke every time. So he's got a lot of variety. He has a lot of combos he can hit. I would say he's pretty goddamn consistent as well, because he has so many augments he can go. He can go Infernal Conduit. Now he has unlimited damage, and he can W on practically a 0-second cooldown. He can go Chauffeur. Now he can 2v1 you and force you to have to buy QSS. He can go Goliath, just get a shitload of HP, and then have Giga Shields of Doom. He can go Circle of Healing and then just spam 2k heal nukes at you, right? There's a lot of things that this champion can do, which makes him consistent. And any consistent champion is going to be good. Mundo is consistent. Mord is consistent. These are just consistently good champions who will continuously show up, because you're not trying to high roll the perfect augment combo. You're just rolling with what you can get, and it's probably good. Morgana, I'm going to put in B tier. She's good. Black Shield in this game mode is obviously very strong. Her Q can be hard to hit, for sure. I agree. Tormented Soil can be hard to hit. I agree. Her ultimate can be hard to hit. I agree. I think she's B tier. I don't think she's above B tier. I think if you roll up Giga Mobility, it can be hard for her. She can get Rylai's. She can get the augment that gives your slows extra slow to try to hit her Q. She can be played in certain combos, Infernal Conduit, stuff like that, where she can go infinite CC. And people will say, oh, but that's not true. The more CC you get, the more tenacity you get. So actually, if you continuously CC somebody, they'll eventually get enough tenacity to get out of it. True. But by the time you're hit with a third Morgana Q, you're dead. For 90% of champions, 99% of champions, realistically, like 95. So it doesn't really matter. All that matters is she can't perma-stun Mundo, which is like, okay, great, but like everyone else is dying. So she's not like super amazing. She can get countered, but I'd put her firmly above average. Nefiri. Okay, I don't really know what's going on with Nefiri. Most people with him or her are quite bad. I don't really understand what's happening here. I don't get it. I'm just gonna put Nefiri in C tier. I don't know what's going on. Some people can do good, some people can do bad. It's a new champion, and I'm sure eventually people will figure out combos and do very good. But for now, everyone's bad. So no comment. No comment. Nami. Okay, so this is a bit confusing. I'm not a very good Nami at all, and I did pretty good on Nami. I think Nami needs to space well. I think she needs to zone well. I think she needs to do a lot of things well, and she definitely has a lot of restrictions and things. But you can still ult into her Q. You can still spam E on allies. She's got a kit that can constantly heal people and get them out of combat. You can space. You can do not amazing, but decent damage. There's just a lot that Nami can do. And I would say she's above average. If you know how to play Nami, you'll probably do pretty good in this game mode. So long as you get a teammate that can do damage. Nami chain speeding a bruiser will probably do good. Nami, Lucian might do okay. So I'd say she's good. Okay, Nasus, C tier. He's average. He's okay. He can beat some champions. He loses to others. Some people thought he was gonna be, oh my god, so broken. He gets 50 free stacks around, so like he's not bad, but he's not particularly good. And you'll never see the 1k stacks giga late game Nasus. At most, you might see a dude who can like Q stack up on like enemies to last hit, while also getting some on plants or turrets or something. Maybe ghouls, I don't know. Maybe they can get to like 650. Hell, I'll be lenient, I'll say 700. Still, 700 is not the 1k stack super late game giga Nasus, okay? Should they give him more stacks per level? Probably not. He's a frustrating champion, and I think he counters some things pretty well. He does pretty well. I would not want to see him be any better at all. I think he's fine, and they shouldn't touch him. Nautilus, I'm putting in C tier as well. He's fine. He's a tank. He has tank augments. His AP ratios are okay. When I played Nautilus, I didn't really see a reason to pick him over another champion. His ult takes too long to animate, so you have to animate your ult, then it goes to them, then it blows up, right? But by then, your AD carry can already be dead. Now, you can Q spam. Your Q is a hard disengage. It's very good against certain champions to be able to just hard rip them off, right? He's okay. I don't think he's bad at all. I think he would... I don't know why you would pick Nautilus over Maokai, is all I'm saying. That's my only issue. Nico... Okay, so Nico currently has an exploit where if you get accelerating thing, every time you use an ability, you get 8 ability haste until the end of the round. Nico's W counts as an ability every time you redirect your clone. So you can literally just sit there and do this, and you can get unlimited. You can get the ability haste cap of 500 in an instant. Now, if you do that, she's okay. That's the thing. It doesn't even break the game. She's okay. She's like not bad at all when you do that. I don't think so. But like to have to use an exploit isn't great. I think Nico is definitely good though. It's just like it's not like good. She's like okay. I'm gonna put her in C. She's like okay. Like she can definitely do a lot of damage, and maybe there's some funny builds you can do. But that's about it. I don't really think that much. I mean, it's okay. Nidalee F. I mean, what does Nidalee do? What does Nidalee do? What does Nidalee honestly do? Anyone honestly want to tell me what Nidalee does? Nothing. Okay. Nyla. Okay, so Nyla suffers from what I'm going to call AD carry-itis. As in, there's no reason to play Nyla because other AD carries are also AD carries and probably better. So maybe I just put her in C tier. The problem is Nyla's good. She's fine. But like literally no one will play Nyla because you can just play a different champion. Another AD carry. And then right click better. Nocturne F. I don't really have anything to say. He's extremely counterable. All you need to do is get the boots. All you need to do is get the boots that let you walk through walls. Then every time Nocturne ults you, you just walk through the wall to the other side. And then you're good. That's it. That's literally as hard as it is. Nocturne would then have to also get the boots to let him walk through walls. And maybe he could, but now he's like... It's like... He's just not good. He doesn't scale well. He doesn't do that much damage late game. He's not that survivable. He's a bit funny. Like in the early game, in the mid game, he's like, oh my god, he does so much damage. He kills people. But the thing is, it's like on Summoner's Rift, that's his balance, right? He kills people early game. Then if he wins the game, he wins. And if he doesn't, then he falls off and stops existing. Nothing else to say. Nunu F. I don't really need to say anything. Nunu is balanced around level 3 ganking 10 times in a row. He cannot level 3 gank you 10 times in a row. Therefore, he's bad. Got it? Okay. Olaf, D tier. Why? I don't think Olaf does anything well. You know what? I'm going to be lenient. I'm going to be extremely lenient to Olaf. I'm going to be as lenient as I can be to this champion. I'm going to say, no, there's just no way. There's no way. The problem is there's so many things that counter Olaf that he would have to preemptively counter in order to have a chance. Does his opponent get infinite mobility? Then he's doomed. So he would have to get mobility himself. But then he gets mobility. He uses all his augments to try to make himself go faster so he can catch these people. But oh no, now he fights a Mord who decided to go with augments that don't make him move faster, but just make him fight better. So, oh no, now he loses in melee to Mord. Now what? He's losing in melee to Mord as Olaf. That's pretty bad. There's no laning phase. There's a shitload of mobility. He's just not good. To be blunt, they would need to nerf the mobility augments to like half their current move speed, so that having a simple having one mobility augment shouldn't make you so much faster that a non-mobility champion can no longer ever catch you. And that's the problem. Right now, you can go Olaf with Stridebreaker, with Hullbreaker. Hell, you can even go into a Dead Man's Plate. You will still not catch a champion with one augment for mobility. So he's just D tier. Like, if you play an Enchanter, if you play like Nami Olaf, I'm sure you could do decent. You could do okay. You'll probably beat some comps. You'll probably get some second and third places, sure. But the thing is, it's a 2v2 game mode. Even in this game mode, right? You could have a Mundo who goes and grabs Zanya's Hourglass to turn off Olaf ult. He can do that. Why does he care? He sacrifices one item and now Olaf loses his ult. What stops him? Nothing. So, oops. Do you get it? Do you get the problem here? In order to make Olaf viable, what they would need to do is make his ult last 3 seconds instead of 2.5 or even 3.5. That way he could consistently keep his ult active, even against Lissandra ult, even against Kayle ult, even against Hourglass, so that at the very least he can focus on building mobility. But then the problem is he builds mobility, Olaf builds Mord or Mundo build purely to beat him in melee, and then they just beat him in melee because he didn't build to actually fight. Like, and the thing is, you can't know what team comps are gonna be the last two until you know. So maybe he builds and, oh, this comp will do good, and then they lose, and then he's left with a bad build, and then maybe he can beat one team but he loses the other and then he gets knocked out. Oops, end of story. Orianna's gonna go in D tier. Our whole thing is kiting. As I just mentioned with Olaf, it is extremely easy to get insane mobility and run her down. So, nothing more to say, honestly. That's it. Kiting, you can't kite in this game mode. I think there's a few champions who just aren't going to be viable because kiting is way too good. That's my opinion, and I don't think that. I think basically all the mobility augments need to be toned down to half of what they do right now. Like, you shouldn't be getting 50 to 100 movement speed off a single augment pretty consistently. Yeah. Ornn, I'm gonna put in D tier, maybe C. I think C. So there's currently a bug that you can abuse with Ornn. I'm not gonna talk about that bug because it's obviously gonna get fixed. But Ornn basically needs to hit mythical on him or his ally to be decent. Now, that either one of you hitting mythical is a pretty good chance at some point. But if you both don't hit it, then he doesn't really do anything special. If he does hit it, you can get multiple super high good mythics, right? So like you could do like Ornn and I don't know who'd be like crazy with lots of mythics. Maybe Mundo, maybe, I don't know. Aatrox, maybe he could do Gore Drinker and Eclipse. I don't know. Either way, sure, some champions could be okay, but it's not that special. I don't think he's bad, but he's not good. There's probably some comps that are funny with him. That's it. There's some comps that are funny. Okay, Pantheon. I don't know what's going on with Pantheon. I can't say for sure. He might even be S tier. I don't know what's going on. He kind of is being used by a lot of people to do Giga one-shot comps. And because of that, he's seeing a lot of play. Because he jumps at Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa stealths or something. She still gets stunned. Then he just waits for her to get unstunned. Auto Q, they're dead. And he's got a teammate to back him up. And a lot of people are doing this comp. Like, a lot of people are playing Pantheon. The dude might be S tier. But I would struggle to say he's actually S tier. But he's certainly quite good. Point and click stun into kill is quite good. Poppy, I'm gonna put Poppy in B tier. Here's my reasoning for that. Poppy can hard counter so many different champions, and she can use the tank augments really good, and she can use the infinite abilities augments really good as well, and she's got good overtime because her hammer knocks you to the edge of the map. So if Poppy gets into a 1v1 with a champion who might be good at like overtiming, like let's say Mundo or I don't know, one of those champions, Mundo, Set, those sorts of champions that can just sort of overtime well by surviving the percent health damage, Poppy can knock them to the wall early, cause them to bleed early, and win. It's not very consistent, obviously it's dodgeable, and obviously you can flash it or do stuff like that, but she has a lot of tools available to her. She can use every augment pretty decently, not amazingly, but decently. Her ult is good, her W, ground, counters a lot of weird champions, counters a lot of things. She can hard counter a lot of different champions. She has like Pantheon can't jump on your buddy if your W is up. There's a lot of things Poppy can do, in my opinion. I think she's above average. I don't think she's like broken. I don't think she's like, oh my god, but I would say she's like above average. I've never played Poppy and thought to myself like, darn, I chose Poppy. Pyke goes straight into F. Nothing good about Pyke. My god. Okay, so he doesn't do anything. He's a support. They gave him all this lethality scaling, and maybe hypothetically, maybe I'll be lenient. Maybe people are playing him wrong and just doing horribly wrong things, and maybe you should be using the ult damage item and stacking lethality and going for those like half health executes. But I don't know if you can actually do that. I haven't played him personally, and he's been utterly useless every time I've played against him. Like, useless. He just runs around, avoids you, his teammate dies, then he runs around again and avoids you, and then he dies. That's it. End of story. Qiyana. I don't know what to say about Qiyana. I'm going to put her in D tier. I haven't played with or against her, but after they nerfed Qiyana's scaling to try to keep her balanced, I think the problem is she doesn't like do that much late game. Because like back in the day, what they tried to do to finally balance Qiyana is they hit her AD ratios. And I'm going to assume in this game mode that them hitting her AD ratios has made her not scale well enough to where she does fall off and doesn't do that much. I'm not going to put her in F tier because she can still probably one-shot people all early to mid-game. But by late game, other champions, like, you have to remember, in this game mode, animation time plays a lot into the balance. If your champion can animate their combo faster, they can win. That's why Malzahar is so good. He presses R, you're dead. Qiyana has to dash forward into a knockback with her ultimate, but oh wait, she dashes forward, Malzahar's, she's dead. Do you get it? So the problem with Qiyana, I'd have to imagine she just doesn't scale well. Quinn, I'm probably putting in D tier. So this is going to shock many of you. You guys might not believe me, but I think a lane bully who focuses on roaming might not do well in a game that is a 2v2 arena with no roaming and no laning. I'm shocked as well. She still does a lot of damage and she can still permakite people. So she's not like a failure. You're not like F tier, I have Quinn, right? But like, you're gonna make the game hard. Now maybe you could do like Mord with Quinn, and you put Quinn into a 1v1, and then she like vaults into a Q, blinds the AD carry, and two-shots them. Maybe. I'll be lenient. I'll say maybe. But, you know, yeah. Rakan, I'm putting in C tier. Rakan as a tank has no way to ring people out. AoE CC is easy to come by. It's not really special. His whole I can stun 4 people thing, well, there's only 2. The poke healing in the laning phase doesn't really matter because you don't lane. Being able to jump over walls is also shockingly not that special. In other words, what I'm trying to say is there's nothing this champion really does that's special. Yeah. C tier. He's not trolling you, but... Okay, I'm actually gonna put Rammus in D tier. there's too much armor pen in this game mode. They need to tone down the armor pen, and until they do, Rammus is going to continuously fight people with 70 to 80% armor pen and die. And I'm not exaggerating. You can get 70% armor pen without really trying that hard. So I think they need to go back and dial it down a bit, or Rammus's defensive ball curl in this game mode needs to just be straight percent damage reduction and not give him armor, because I was playing Aatrox and I nearly one-shot late game Rammus because he has got low health. He needs to build armor for his build to work because that's how he functions. But then I'm late game Aatrox. I have 70% armor pen. Okay, Rek'Sai D tier. You're not trolling your team to death, but you're not being very useful either, I think. There's definitely some comps where he could be good. There's definitely, I don't even know. Are there comps where he could be good? Are there? Anyone? Is there any Rek'Sai comp that's actually good? Dead honest, I don't think so. F tier. F. Rel. Okay, I'm contemplating A or B for Rel. I'm going to put Rel in B tier, and my reasoning for this is because I think Rel will get nerfed on the Summoner's Rift pretty goddamn hard because she is enormously overpowered. And I think once they do, a lot of her power will be gone. In fact, I might even just put Rel in C tier preemptively because of that. But for now, I put her in B tier. She's extremely, extremely hard to kill. Has a shitload of CC. But she doesn't have much damage. She doesn't have much AP ratios. But she has so much CC, so much spam damage. She can break shields, which helps counter some things. Yeah. So that's all I can say. Not a glass. God, she should just be disabled. But I'll put her in F tier. I don't really need to explain this, do I? She's slow. Her animations are slow. She can keep one ally from dying, which is nice. But so can other champions. Renekton, okay, shockingly, okay, I've played a lot of Renekton. I'm going to put him in B tier. I actually think Renekton is B tier. His point and click stun, okay, in Summoner's Rift, a single target stun gets less and less relevant as time goes on. In the laning phase, you stun all your opponents. In early 2v2s, you stun half your opponents. In teamfights, you stun a fifth of your opponents. So a single target stun gets less and less relevant as the game goes on. In this game mode, they're capped at 2. You only have 2 people. His single target stun can be extremely relevant. So yeah, he's got decent scaling. I think he would be, they desperately need to unnerf Gore Drinker in this mode. If they unnerfed Gore Drinker, Renekton would be much better. I would say for now, though, he's like slightly above average, I would say. He's slightly above average. He does okay. He does good. I don't regret playing with or against Renekton. He can be bad to fight. Now, I would put him down in C tier, maybe. I would say he's tentatively a B tier, but Riot really needs to unnerf Gore Drinker in this mode. The problem is Renekton can struggle with Mundo. He can struggle with Mord. Mord can just W really fast, heal to full. Renekton has to basically guess when he's going to W, then break the shield. Now, if he does do that, he kills Mord for free, right? But I'm being told to put Rel up a higher tier. So I'm just going to put Rel up a higher tier for now. I think she's going to get nerfed really goddamn hard. Probably on this patch. Probably in a hotfix any day. Her win rate in solo queue on Summoner's Rift is absurd. And I'm talking absurd. There is no way she doesn't get obliterated by nerfs. So she might be down here in D tier pretty quickly. But yeah, for now she's pretty dang good. Rengar I'm putting in D tier. A lot of maps have barely any brush. That's it. A lot of maps have barely any brush. Some end zones don't even have brush. Sometimes the end zone is only brush. So, like, he can just be kicked out of the brush. So, like, if they take the brush with Heimerdinger, Rengar has to just sit there like a sad kitty and be like, please. Please let me get in the brush, sir. Please. With Ivern, Rengar is playable, yeah. But then you're just playing an Ivern comp. And let's be fair, Ivern is pushing S++ because of how devastating Daisy is. Okay. I know other people are rating Riven really highly. I'm going to put her down here in average. Can Riven go infinite? Sure. But here's the thing. Riven's combos and what she does tend to be, in fact, don't tend to be, are less devastating. If Riven fights a Poppy, it's over. Oh, but that's just if she's fighting Poppy, Hashinshin. Actually, that's just if she's fighting Renekton, it's over. If she's fighting practically any tank, it's over. Well, that's just tanks, Hashinshin. If she's fighting Jax, how does she sink in damage? In the normal Summoner's Rift, Riven would hard counter Jax by just poking him and running away. But in this game mode, not so much. Yes, Riven can counter things like Aatrox. I agree. If Cassiopeia hits a miasma under Riven, she's dead. No counterplay. GG. Riven would need to stunlock Mord from full HP or he just keeps healing. How does Riven deal with an Annie? How does Riven deal with an Ivern? Am I saying Riven is useless? No. Am I saying Riven is unplayable? Also no. I'm just saying she's like average. She's fine. A lot of Riven's strength comes down to just one-shotting people, then taking objectives and snowballing the game. Yeah, her only broken augment is acceleration, but currently acceleration is pretty goddamn broken. And as we've seen on Nico, you can literally open each round and get 500 ability haste by just auto-clicker spam on your W. Literally get a program that does auto-clicker. You can, in the first fraction of a second of a round, have 500 ability haste. So, yeah. I would say Riven is firmly C tier. Plus, okay, here's the thing. Riven players might finally have the argument that it's hard to play. With like 100 ability haste, Riven is still, you're doing the generic combos, right? But if you're doing unlimited ability haste, 500 ability haste Riven, and you're literally having to do this, yeah, okay, fine. That might actually start getting difficult, I'll admit. Rumble, D tier. Rumble is still fundamentally a lane bully. I think he has some infinite augments, but anyone who gets Infernal Conduit can go infinite. It's a pretty broken augment. Can he infinite taser you? Yeah, and it's pretty goddamn funny, I will admit, okay? Can Rumble just go taser, 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 and kill you from full? Yeah, and again, it's pretty funny, but lots of champions can do funny stuff like that. So, and I just don't think he's very good. You can't bully the laning phase because there is no laning phase. Yeah. Rise, C tier. Actually, I might put Rise in B tier. Okay, I actually think Rise is in B tier. I think most Rise players are really bad. I might even put Rise in A tier if you want me to be blunt. I think okay, my actual thoughts, I think if Rise doesn't get cheesed out, if other people don't get infinite augments, if other people don't manage to break the game, I think there's a lot of... Rise can consistently find good augments. He goes Infernal Conduit, Infinite Root, one-shot combo. Does Rise get mana into health? Then there's a 6,000 health giga damage Rise combo. Does he get the ability haste one? Then it's back to Infinite Root, one-shot combo. You know, it's... If he doesn't get cheesed out, he's really good. But it's very... he has nothing in his kit that allows him to infinite cheese. So, for example, Ryze can just get obliterated by Alistar perma-stunning him. He can get obliterated by Heimer because he never gets in range. He can get obliterated by Kayn one-shotting him. He can die to Kai'Sa being in range for 2 microseconds and doing 7 trillion DPS. I think if no one gets good augments, Ryze can win. If people do get good augments, I don't think Ryze has anything broken he can rely on. Samira, I'm gonna put an A tier as well. Samira's really good. The extra damage. I think the extra damage on Samira's ult that she can get from the 1 lethality item actually breaks her late game. I play with someone who spams Samira, and I literally watched him kill both opposing champions in under 1 second. Because when you get 100% crit, and you start getting like 40 lethality with 35% armor pen, with bonus armor pen augment or lethality augment, you literally can chain crit 1,000 multiple times in a row and just destroy everyone. It's really funny. On the other hand, Samira can also be one-shot, and she can be bullied early game. She's not a weak early game champion by any stretch of the imagination, but she can be bullied early game. If you actually have some early game champions. You also can just, for example, Renekton stun her. You can Ryze root her. Yeah. Sejuani, D tier. She does nothing good. I don't really have anything to say. Senna, D tier. Once again, realistically, guys, I mean, come on. Like, either of these champions, there's nothing to say here. There's actually just nothing to say. Senna's good because she sits back in a 5v5 doing hella damage. Sejuani is good because she spam ganks in early game, doesn't need gold. These don't translate well into this mode. Seraphine, I'm going to put in B tier. I actually think Seraphine's kind of good. If you want a poke champion who also does a good bit of damage, who also has CC, who also scales decently, who also can shield you a bit to keep you alive, Seraphine. Seraphine. She's like Lux, but better. And his pink hair. Set. Okay, this one's gonna be controversial because some people really think that Set is good. Set isn't good. He's great, actually. I think Set is so good. Set is kind of up there with Ryze, where if you do not hit a broken combo, Set wins. Do you have infinite HP? Set ults you. You take 2,000 damage, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 damage. I've hit a Ryze who went with the mana into health augment. I hit him for 2,000 damage with my ult. In combination with my W, he died in 1 frame. Because he got pulled by my E into my W into ult, and he was dead. Ta-da! He's really good. There's a lot of health items and a lot of armor. Sorry, there's a lot of health and a lot of damage items. Gore Drinker is still good on him. Do I think Gore Drinker should be unnerfed? Yes. I think Gore Drinker should be unnerfed, and then I think Set should get a lower AD ratio on his W in this game mode. I think that would be a good play. Because right now, the problem is, Set is basically the only legitimately good... I think Set is currently the only legitimately good Gore Drinker user. All the other ones, at best, are maybe slightly good. And let's remember, Renekton is pretty goddamn OP on Summoner's Rift right now. So will Renekton be good here forever? Probably not. He'll probably get nerfed. And then there will be no good Gore Drinker user other than Set. And it's only because Set abuses the bonus HP from this game mod. Remember, everyone has more health in this mode. And he can get a shitload of augments for bonus damage or bonus health. Or he can get an augment to crit his W. Basically, I'm saying Set should get a lower AD ratio in his W, then Gore Drinker should be unnerved. I think that would be the most fair way to do it. Outside of that, Set is extremely goddamn powerful in every stretch of imagination. Shaco, I'm going to put it S. Not S++. I might even put him at A. I'm going to be blunt. I think I put Shaco at A. Do I put Shaco above A? The more and more I play, I feel like Set is... I feel like Shaco... Okay, I feel like Shaco is good. It's hard to say. Let's do S. I feel like there are so many comps that can just effortlessly slap Shaco aside, and 90% of the time he's being played with Heimerdinger or one of these other S tier picks. You'll frequently see Shaco Ivern, Shaco Heimerdinger, Shaco Annie, and I feel like it's kind of hiding that he isn't that amazing. I think he's really good, obviously, in this game mode. I think he's really good, but I think that... Okay, my blunt opinion, I think that the fact that he keeps playing with champions better than him hides the fact that he's good, but he's not great. He's good, but he's not like, oh my god. So I think I'm gonna put him down here in A tier. Like, he can't kill Mord. Mord will just... I mean, maybe he could try to kill Mord, but anytime Mord gets unstunned, boop, full health. Can he kill Ivern? Maybe, if Ivern forgets to just, like, use Daisy to break shit and take plants. Can he beat Mundo? No. Can he beat Malzahar? Maybe. Can he beat Annie? Probably not. Can he beat Alistar? If Alistar finds no healing or plants or anything, he can't beat any of these champions. Not really. Shen. I'm gonna Shen in C tier. He's got good augments that he can kind of use, but none of them are, like, great. Some augments on him are good. That's about it. In fact, I don't even call him good. He has some augments that work on him. That's it. He has some augments, and they do work on him. He can't bully the laning phase. He can't ult across the map. That's it. He can't do anything else. My opinion, I think they should just give Set a damage reduction buff. Like, he should just take, like, 5 to 10% reduced damage. In fact, I'm going to put Shen down here. Yeah. I think that he just needs a damage reduction buff. The thing is, on Summoner's Rift, Shen bullies people early game, tries to get a gold lead, ults bot lane, tries to win his bot lane. His base stats are terrible to compensate for that. Like, his base stats are intentionally bad. His health and armor per level are terrible. Not as bad as it used to be, but still pretty bad to compensate so that he can't scale well and win the game. In this game mode, that's pretty bad. So I think they should just give him like a 5 to 10% damage reduction, maybe 5%, maybe 10% damage reduction flat, just to compensate. Maybe just give him higher health, mana, and armor. Sorry, mana. Higher health, armor, and magic resist per level to compensate. So then you could still penetrate through it, and he doesn't just become a weird super tank by having unmitigatable % damage reduction. Either rate, I think he just needs to have normal scaling. Then he can just be a tank that sort of does damage, kind of. I don't know. Shyvana goes into A tier. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Shyvana can't beat a lot of things, but she's really devastating. Why is she so devastating? Because on the PBE, she currently has 2 buffs. Her Q gives her an attack speed buff for next 2 attacks, and her E has an AD ratio on the % health damage. Because of that, that makes Shyvana quite stronger. The second thing is she gets 1 stack of her passive per round. So she typically ends up at like 10 stacks of her passive late game. For those of you who don't know, that is literally impossible in the base game mode. It literally can't be done. She can get 4 stacks for the passive, then 1 for the super dragon, and then the game ends. At most, she can get to like 5. In this game mode, she frequently, like the last round, she'll have like 10. She'll also get them consistently, even early, and just do well. At level 6, she has 3, I think. Is she, like, breaking the game? Not really. Is she really strong? Yeah. If you're trying to run a tank comp or a double juggernaut comp, she can do so much damage. Yeah. Singed, I'm putting an A tier as well. He runs, he flings, he has magical black cleaver. There's now a black cleaver for magical damage. It helps him a lot. He also has a lot of good augments on him. A lot. He does a lot of things. He runs around, he poisons. I mean that's all Singe does. Also, he can hit plants and get to a second ult. So then he ults, his ult ends, he gets to another ult, and that kind of mitigates his only, well, I shouldn't say his only, I should say that mitigates one of his biggest weaknesses, which is he runs out of ult and then he's a stupid, useless champion. That's it. That's all I have to say. Sion, F tier. Do I need to explain this? There's too much mobility. He can't hit his abilities. He doesn't get enough stacks of his passive to matter. He can't farm. That's it. I don't really know what else to say. I think they should probably give him more stacks of his passive per round, and then he would maybe be better. For now, I have literally... Okay. If they gave him more stacks of his passive per round, and they nerfed the mobility augments, so he didn't just instantly do nothing... Yeah, I don't know. Useless. Sivir, useless. Nothing more to say. Oh, you can run really fast in a game mode where everyone can run fast. Oh, you can throw a boomerang in a game mode where there is literally a boomerang augment. Blitzcrank and Sivir's main abilities are augments anyone can get. And they're better on other champions. Skarner. C. Skarner has some augments that can go crazy. He can go infinite. He can win. He's extremely good. Extremely good. With augments. If he doesn't hit his augments, if he fights a poke comp, he doesn't do much. However, if he hits his augments, he can do okay. Not amazing. He needs to fight the right comps. He loses to a lot. He's not terribly amazing. Yeah, and then that's the other problem. His pillar spawns in the middle of the map no matter what. And there are some maps where the middle is on one side of the map instead of the other. And I think, I would have to play him again to verify, I think there's a map where he literally can't get to his pillar. But... it's not good. It's not good for Skarner boy. Let's put him D tier. I think, obviously, Skarner probably won't see any work done because they're going to rework him in 3 years anyway. Maybe 4 years or 5, you know, whenever they get around to it. For now, he's the only champion with Spires, so they're not going to go ahead and, like, rework all the maps just to appease Skarner fans. Like, if you want to play him and you get the right augments and you're in the right comp, he can be okay. If you don't, you're playing Skarner. What did you expect? Sona, B tier. Much like Seraphine... Okay, well, actually, I can explain this one. Sona is currently the only champion I've seen that can stack her passive on the target dummy, which makes her able to get to 120 quite easily. Even with that fixed, because every time Sona hits an enemy with an ability, it reduces a cooldown on her ult, and there's so much ability haste in this game, and even if they fix that bug, she gets so many of her stacks or passive for free per round, and she can stack them up in game so easily. It's pretty easy for Sona to like ult, disengage, ult again, disengage, ult again, and you're just like, well, wait, what? Because when your ultimate is a 30-second cooldown, and every time you use an ability, it gets 1.5 less seconds, it's like... Yeah. Soraka, tentatively B tier as well. Basically all the enchanters are good, but not great, I think. I think that's a fair way to put all of them. Every single one of them are good, but not great. Nothing else to say. The ability to insta-silence does fuck over, because you have to remember that this game can have such high damage. This game can have such high damage that an instant silence can be really impactful. There's also some healing augments, healing into damage, stuff like that that you can get. You can do a lot, really, with Soraka. You can also make all your heals and shields give bonus armor and magic resist to people, which is good early game, but falls off. There's some decent stuff enchanters can do as a whole. Victor, I'm gonna put an A tier. I know A tier is a bit overloaded, but like, there's like this. I'm using B tier as a gap where like these champions are good, like they're okay. They're not trolling, but they're not really that amazing. These champions are clearly better than average. And then the A tier champions are like the ones who actually like work on the game mode. If that makes sense to you. Why is Swain so good? He gets a shitload of stacks of his passive per round and can stack them up in the round. He frequently reaches absurd amounts of HP really early in the game. So Swain is just good. I think if they nerfed his stacks per round, it would pretty much instantly balance him out. For now, he gets a lot of stacks per round. Very, very quickly. That's it. I mean, nothing else. Silas. Okay, I'm going to put Silas in B tier. Silas does a lot of damage, and he can certainly counter some things, but he's not amazing. Later in the game, just the fact that he like needs to animate his E into his W into his Q, animate his ult, like merely the fact that he needs to do that means a lot of champions can squish him like a bug before he can finish it off. But until you reach the hyper late game, he's pretty decent. He can counter some champions, he can do some stuff. The only issue is he's not that, like, he's better than average, but he's not exactly blowing my mind. Let's put it that way, right? Okay. Syndra. Okay, Syndra is a bit of a debate, but I have played against her a few times and been completely unable to do anything. I'm going to put Syndra in S+++ tier. The problem with Syndra is she gets a shitload of her passive stacks per round, and Void Staff is 45% magic pen, and she can get even more pen from runes, and her ultimate executes 15% HP. It's pretty easy, in my opinion, for Syndra to get to the point where she straight one-shots people. And her stuff is pretty long range. And because she has so much ability haste, it's hard to find time in between her abilities before she can do another ability and one-shot you. So this is kind of, once again, why I think it's a really bad idea to blanket buff all mage items, because some mages just go a little bit too ham. Even if you removed her splinters, like even if you nerfed her splinters per round, I don't know. I fought her a few times and it's just an instant one shot. It's really not that fun. Tahm Kench, C tier. I think Tahm Kench should hypothetically be really good in this mode, and he's just not, because they never went through with the Tahm Kench buffs they were talking about, so he still just like doesn't scale. And I think that's a problem. He only does 3% health damage on his passive. It's decent early game. By mid to late game, that's not much, and he doesn't really do much. And I think that there's a clear problem. If they had done the buffs they said they were gonna do, I would be rated, because like with his ultimate, you'd assume he'd be an amazing champion in this mode. He should be, and he's just not. He's merely That's all I have to say. Talia, I'm putting in D tier. She's a poke champion, and she can do okay. And maybe I should rate her higher. Maybe I should, in all honesty. But I have not been impressed. Normally, people can at least make champions look threatening. But Talia, I have not been threatened by, not even once. Never once have I fought a Talia and I thought to myself, wow, that champion is scary. Like, I've been scared by Skarners before, but a Talia, no. Talon, I think, goes in F. Shockingly, Talon is balanced on one-shotting people who are under-leveled, then snowballing on it, then jumping over every wall. Well, we're in a game mode where everyone is very fast, some maps really don't have that many walls, and he can't kill anyone who's under-leveled. So what does that mean? He's really not that threatening. That's all I have to say. He does nothing. I'm gonna put Taric in S. Some people put Taric in S+++. I don't. He's good. He's really good. He's like really good, but he's not. He's beatable. He's very beatable in my opinion. He's just really, really good. He's like really good, but he's beatable. Should he get nerfed? Yeah, probably a bit, but that's about it. Teemo, I'm going to put an S tier. So I know Teemo's a bit of a counter pick, and he can't do some, like, against some comps, he literally can't do anything. And into some comps, he literally can't do anything. And in other comps, he hard counters them and crushes them. And I know it's a bit unfair because I put Jax, who does the same thing, in A tier. But the thing is, Teemo is just so outrageously goddamn powerful if you don't counter him, and it's just really unfair. Especially because, like, there's no tenacity runes or anything. There's no 5v5ing where he struggles. Like, he just runs up, blinds someone, starts eating them to, like, half health, backs off, blinds them again. Oops. Right? And, again, he's beatable. He's definitely beatable, and maybe I should just put him in A tier. It's like hard to put him in the same tier as Taric. It kind of is, but yeah. Thresh, F. Thresh's Lantern is literally an augment that you can get. That's all I have to say. Much like Blitzcrank, much like Sivir, you can literally get Lantern as an augment and people still say, eh. Tristana goes into C tier. She's fine, but once again, we're running into the ADC issue. Literally, why would you pick Tristana if you could pick Samira? Could anyone give me a reason? No, but she has got longer attack range. Who cares? She jumps in, but Samira jumps in. Then Samira one-shots everyone. And then Tristana falls off. Trundle, C tier. He's not trolling, and he can counter some comps, but obviously he can't deal with poke comps. Obviously, AD carries can one-shot him late game. He can deal with some comps, though. Like, you're fighting Mundo, or you're fighting... You know, like there are some champions he does really good into. He does really good into them, but he's just overall not that impressive. And even into the champions he's good into, they can still kind of beat him. So he's just, Jennifer goes F. Okay, so he's kind of got the same problem Olaf has. People can get so mobile that he can't really do much. And then he's only useful in his ult. So he needs to ult, find a plant, get another ult again. He can win in overtime, but no one's ever going to let him get into overtime with his ultimate still available. They'll easily have forced him to ult by then. Or he'll have killed them, right? Like, no one's... So he's just not that impressive, I'd say. Plus, I think he can start the match with Rage by hitting the dummy, I think. But if his opponents back off, he can bleed off his Rage, which means he needs to run in. And maybe you can say, oh, but he's a berserker, right? But it's so... You have to work around him so much. Like, you need to, like, really try to make this champion work. And is it worth it to make a champion work so hard? If you love him, maybe, I guess. Twisted Fate gets, like, super F. A champion whose entire playstyle is ulting across the map to snowball. But unlike Shen, he focuses not on even winning his lane. He focuses on wave clearing his lane, then roaming, then generating a shitload of gold on the minions. He is so bad. Literally all he can do is get a gold card and pretend to be Fiddlesticks. That's it. He's bad. Twitch, I'm going to put in B, probably. Maybe A. Probably B. I think people really overestimate Twitch. Can he de-stealth and attack you? Yes. Yes, he can. But he needs to one-shot you. So sure, there are some comps he does really good in it. And there are some comps he doesn't do good in. And he needs to get his team out of the early game. Basically, he's going to have to play with some form of engage or bruiser or something, right? And sure, they'll probably lose early game, but then if they lose too much early game, they could lose too much health and then get knocked out. He's good. He's above average. I would definitely say he's good. And he's unique from other ADCs, so there's definitely comps where I think he does really good. I think he does really good in some comps, yes. That's all I have to say. Udyr, F. No, let me give Udyr a D tier. Look, there are some comps that Udyr can beat up early game, and maybe he can even win early and snowball. Except you can't win early and snowball in this game mode. So he doesn't work. That's all I have to say. Urgot, C tier. Like, he can work. He can find some augments. If he gets Blade Waltz, he can chain proc his passive. He can auto hit the plant 3 times with his W, so then he can get all 3 before his opponent can react. He does have some things he can do. I agree. He's average. You're not trolling your team. You can win with him. But like, if you're trying to if you're like legitimately trying to win, you're probably gonna want to go for one of these champions. But you can do Urgot and some other champions and try to do stuff. Like, C tier champions are definitely capable of winning if you combo them well. It's the D and F tier champions that you're really gonna struggle to win with. Varus, I'm gonna put in B tier. Even nerfed AP Varus can still do Giga one-shot combos, which means he can counter some champions. He can't literally one-shot champions, but he can get most of the way there. So if you're doing like a Juggernaut combo, or if you're fighting like a Taric comp, it's like Varus with like a tank can just start whacking people off and removing them from the board. He's not as good as he used to be, obviously, but he's still like, instead of killing like 120% of someone's health, he now kills like 80%. And yeah, if you spam courage and healing and stuff, you can survive him. But, you know. Vayne goes into A tier. She's really good, obviously, because she doesn't need to worry about her early game. And she doesn't need to worry about range. And she can just ult in and start doing damage 2v2. Shockingly, this is pretty good. Most people say, wow, that Vayne, she really does damage to me. It hurts me. I don't like it. That's it. There's nothing special about her. Oh, the other problem, and I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Poppy. Where did I put Poppy? B tier as well. Yeah, so Poppy and Vayne, okay, the reason I list Poppy as being decent, and some people disagree with that, there are so many walls. There are so many walls. Poppy and Vayne would have to struggle to not stun people. And that's what I was saying. Like, some people say, oh, you can just play against Poppy, but can you? Because there are some maps where, like, where the freak would you go to not get hit into a wall? Especially as overtime starts hitting. Veigar goes into F. Now I'll put him in D. Look, you can make Veigar work, but here's the thing. I'm gonna put in DF. D. Look, you can make Veigar work, and I'm sure there's some Veigar comps that are definitely good, but you can literally get Phenomenal Evil as an augment on any champion. That's it. That's a joke. End statement. Vel'Koz. I kind of want to, as a joke, put Vel'Koz in Super F, but I'll refrain. Okay, much like Summoner's Rift, Vel'Koz isn't mobile. Like ASOL, Vel'Koz just gets engaged on and dies, and then you're down a teammate. And in Summoner's Rift, you can make the argument, oh, well, he's a support, so they engaged on the support. Ha ha ha, they didn't kill anyone that matters. This is a 2v2 game mode. They just wiped out half your team. Vex, I'm going to put in C tier. She's a slight counter pick. She can fear people. She can try to go for one-shots. She's just not that good at it. Once again, we have another champion who focuses on one-shotting squishy players, under-leveled players, then snowballing on it. And there's nobody under-leveled to snowball here. The mage item buffs, I would say she's like, eh. You can definitely make an argument for her. But in fact, I mean, even that feels too good for her. Because, like, the thing is, you compare Vex to, like, some of these other champions, like... There's just no way. Like, there's just no way. Like, why would you play Vex instead of Nico, for example? Nico can stealth. Long range doesn't do much. Vi, okay, Vi definitely goes into C tier. She's like nerfed really hard because of pro play. But there are still some combos you could do with Vi. In fact, I'm gonna put Vi in B tier. I know that sounds dumb, but I just thought about the combos. The problem with Vi is you ult. You play Vi and you just ult someone and you can't dodge it, you can't outplay it, you can't outmaneuver it, you can't do anything. Right? And so the problem is, you play Vi, you ult someone, the teammate gets the kill. So I've seen Vi Pantheon, that one was impossible to keep someone alive, right? Literally impossible. Basically, Vi can hunt down and massacre the AD carry comps, and there's not much you can do about it. So, Viego... I think Viego has to join Twisted Fate in Super F. His passive fundamentally doesn't work. Because if you've killed an enemy, you generally win the game anyway. Sometimes they get a return kill, but by the time someone's dead, most of the time, you maybe get a revenge kill and that's it. So, snowballing a match doesn't do much. You only get one use of his passives because the second one doesn't matter. You've already won the game. His stealth can be super finicky and often not really work, right? You can't gank early game. You can't assassinate low health targets. Like, dead honest, I think these two might be the worst characters in the game. But I still think Viego's better than Twisted Fate, so I gotta put him in F tier. I think Twisted Fate is the only Super F. I gotta be honest, I think he's the only Super F. Viego's just bad. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Viego can like giga stat check Mundo to death. I don't know. Maybe. Victor. Oh boy, this one's tough. Okay, I have not played with or against a Victor, but I'm gonna be honest. I think he would probably go in B tier if I had to guesstimate, because he gets late game for free. He gets the giga buffed mage items. He doesn't care that much about mobility. He just goes Lich Bane, Q auto R. His laser is still decent poke. He can eradicate Heimer turrets. He can shield, kind of. So I think Victor is definitely B tier. If I had to guesstimate, that's probably where he would be. Based on where like the other champions are, I think on Summoner's Rift he's really good because you get late game and zap zap. In this game mode with so much mobility and stuff, he might suffer, but I think he would still be fine. Vladimir, okay, I actually think Vladimir is being super underutilized right now. He's pretty good. Vladimir is like the giga one-shot queen. Queen Vlad, the one-shot king. That's all I have to say. He has a lot of augments, and they can work pretty well. And even if he gets no augments, he just reaches late game and goes giga one-shot Vlad. And there's so many, he has so many augments he can use to go Giga one-shot. There's so many. If he didn't hit any, I would be shocked. He would have to not hit the percent pen. He would not have to hit Phenomenal Evil. He would have to not hit the 70 AP. He would have to not hit infinite ability power. He would have to not hit so many things. He would have to not hit so many things. Volibear, okay. Volibear is a bit of a... I think Volibear is better than average. And he can definitely hit a lot. Okay, so Cosmic Punch Volibear I definitely think is practically S+++. But normal Volibear, not so much. I think normal Volibear is good. Now he does... For those of you who don't understand, Cosmic Punch Volibear, his W counts as an attack, which reduces its own cooldown. Then his Q reduces his cooldown. Is it Mystic Punch? Yeah, Mystic Punch. So basically, Volibear does QW, auto, back into W, back into Q, back into auto, back into W. And again, you can literally have someone Q'd 3 times before they're unstunned. Or say, Q'd twice, W'd 3 times. So you've activated the W, then used the enhanced W twice before they are unstunned. That is a freakish amount of damage. And then the thing is, from there on, it's literally just W auto Q, 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 and he will keep doing that forever. He can damage down and out DPS practically anything other than maybe, I mean, obviously Kai'Sa, but that's Kai'Sa. Warwick. Okay, so lots of people do Warwick comps, and I'm gonna break the mold here. I think Warwick is just average. He does really good early game, then he falls off a cliff. And that happens every time. Every time. Really good early game, falls off a cliff. Really good early game, falls off a cliff. Every single time. Wukong, C tier as well. He can do really good early game, and then he kind of falls off a cliff. Now, doing really good early game, yes. That's the thing. Doing really good early game does matter, because that means you get more gold, that means you deny people gold, that means you remove a lot of HP. He does carry into the mid game, he still does well. The other problem is you get to late game. You get to Super Mord, Super Mundo, Super Jack, Super Set, and these two champions just can't deal with it. Warwick would have to stack HP to survive Super Set one-shotting him. So, yeah. Xerath I have not seen, but I'm just going to imagine he's F tier for a good reason. Much like Vel'Koz, I'm imagining that a champion who's the only reason to not dive these champions is they are the support. And you don't want to be wasting so many resources on the support. But in this game mode, they now make up half your team. So, do you get the problem here? Yeah. Xin Shao, I'm going to put in D tier. People played him a lot at first, thinking like, I'm going to play Xin, and then I'm going to like pew pew and stun lock everybody. And then you actually play him, and he does less damage than other people, and he's less survivable than other people. He's not as strong as other people. And that's it. Xayah, B tier. Xayah's fine, in fact good. It's just that Xayah suffers from like not Kai'Sa and not Samira and not Vayne-itis. I would say Kai'Sa, Samira, and Vayne have eaten every champion, every AD carry is going to be Samira, Kai'Sa, or Vayne. And if you're not one of those, then you're just going to play one of those. Okay. Yasuo, I'm going to put in F tier. They balanced Yasuo and Yone on having lethal tempo. They don't have lethal tempo. Yasuo doesn't even have minions he can jump to. He has nobody he can stack his Q on. He doesn't do damage. He can't do anything. He does nothing. He's awful. He's terrible. He's no good, in fact. Nothing to say. He just doesn't transfer to this mode well. Now I know Riot and next patch they're gonna be like, In order to make Yasuo playable, he now does 50% more damage and takes 50% less damage. We think that, and he'll be like super S plus giga broken tier, right? Surely they will, because it's Riot, right? Like we all know. So I would say right now though, he can't jump the minions, he can't stack his Q. He's no good. And he doesn't get lethal tempo, so he can't even like abuse early game giga DPS. Yone I'm gonna put in D tier. He's got the same issue as Yasuo, but he doesn't jump the minions for his mobility, and he scales better than Yasuo, and he's much stronger than Yasuo just champion to champion. He's not good by any stretch of imagination, but if you can get him out of the early game, Yone is much more powerful than Yasuo and could actually do something. The problem is, if you get Yone out of the early game, he's just not as good as the other actual late game champions. So he's like D tier. If you want to make him work, I think you could hypothetically make him work. However, you would have to struggle bus to make him work. Yorick goes in F tier. He can't get ghouls. He literally can't get ghouls. He cannot get ghouls until level 6, and then he has to get... No, you know what? Yorick goes in Super F. Super F. I don't even care. He can't get ghouls until level 6. Then once he does get level 6, he has to summon his ult. Then if his ult dies, he doesn't do anything. The only thing he can do, summon his ult, E an enemy, build pure lethality, and hope they die instantly. And if he's fighting an AD carry, or if he's fighting someone with range, they kill the ghouls, and he cannot get them back. Twisted Fate and Yorick are Super F. No. Chat. Actually. Giga F. Oh shoot, I accidentally removed... Okay, hold on. What word did I use for this again? Oh shoot. Disabled. Okay. Yuumi is disabled. You're literally just not allowed to play Yuumi. That's it. You're literally just not allowed to play Yuumi. That's it. Is she good? Is she bad? You're just not allowed to play her. Zac. Tentatively put Zac in C tier. He can do a lot of damage. He can kill people. He can like counter some comps. He's not as bad as some of these champions. But like at the end of the day, there's literally no reason to take Zac. Like I do agree there's probably some comps where like Zac engaging is fun. But he's countered by having mobility, which is easy to get. He's countered by some late game champions, which are easy to get. He's just like, he's okay. He's firmly Zed, I'm gonna put in D tier. Once again, I know Riot is gonna ignore the problem. They're gonna ignore the problem, and they're just gonna... Actually, I'm not D. He's like a C. They're gonna ignore the problem with Zac in that he can't kill under-leveled enemies, and they're just gonna like giga buff him into hell. They're like, Zac now does 30% more damage because Shadow Ninja, right? Yeah. By the way, Zac has his revive every round, so he does kind of get a good bit of power on that. That is something that's actually pretty good. Like in all honesty, that actually is pretty good. Zed isn't bad. He's not bad, he's just not great. I think he runs into the issue where once you get to late game, so many champions can just straight kill him before his ult pops. And if he dies before his ult pops, then he loses the round. So if he fights, for example, a Kai'Sa or a Samira, and they 1v1, and he does all his damage, and then the Samira one-shots him, and then Samira gets popped, in the normal game mode, they went 1-for-1. In this game mode, Samira wins, he loses. You get it? Okay. I think Zeri's like a C, maybe? if you play her well, no, D. There's no way. Too much mobility. No way. She can't stack. She can't do anything. I don't really think much of Zeri. I'm gonna be blunt. I can't really think of anything she does special that you would want. I'm sure you could do like some Enchanter Zeri teams that would kind of work and it would be funny and she could jump over walls, ha ha ha. But again, it's like the D tier champions are all gonna be champions that you have to like work towards, and like you have to like try and make them work, right? Okay. Ziggs, I'm gonna put in C tier. I've actually seen a lot of Ziggs combos that are quite good. The minefield is really good at area denial. He can set up multiple minefields with enough ability haste. His Q can destroy turrets. His poke is pretty good. He can ult, pop a plant, ult again. Overall, I would say his poke isn't as good as maybe... Like, I think Seraphine, just because she has a shield, is probably a little bit better. But Ziggs is pretty good on his own. I think as time goes on, I might move Ziggs up a tier as people get better at him. But for now, I think C tier is pretty good. Yeah. And again, something really underrated is ability to ult, then just clear a plant as he controls the board, then ult again. Zilean? Okay, I'm gonna put Zilean straight up in S tier. Dead honest, Zilean has so many ways to win a game, it's crazy. Nothing else needs to be said. I don't really need to explain this, hopefully, for people. Basically, he doesn't do much damage, but he can go infinite abilities with two different champions. Or sorry, two different augments. He can spam his abilities really hard and get to the 500 ability haste cap without any exploits really easily. So it's unlikely to be nerfed before launch because it's not using any exploits. He's literally just spamming his 3 basic abilities and getting to 500 ability haste. If he goes with the ability haste equals movement speed augment, he can just stack ability haste and move really fast, and then yeah. The revive is insanely useful in this game mode. If the round is about to time out, then he can revive himself, and the entire revive timer into his second life, he's considered alive. So there's basically no champion that can beat him in overtime. He's extremely good. He's just extremely good. Fighting a good Zilean is terrifying. Having a good Zilean on your team is really funny. That's all I have to say. Zoe is going to be an F tier. No, I don't think anything about Zoe. She's bad. I'll put her in D tier, maybe. I mean, man, like if you hit some, like I think she's playable, and D tier is still like technically playable. If I'm sticking by my own rules, she's technically playable. Because Zoe is definitely better than like Sion, right? It's just she's not good. Okay. Zyra. Okay, I'm gonna put Zyra in A tier. Some people put her in S. I think once again, 90% of the time Zyra is picked, she's picked with Heimer or Shaco. And it looks like she's really good because she's being picked in these extremely synergistic comps. But a lot of times you see other champions, like you'll see Ryze, and it'll be like Ryze Wukong or Ryze Diana, right? But Zyra only gets picked by people who A, don't play her, and then B, people don't play her, and then if they do play her, they always do insanely synergistic comps that make her look way better. I think as time goes on and people figure out more synergistic comps and start playing them more often, I think Zyra will be shown to be not really that overpowered, just simply pretty good. Because once again, the problem will be people will use other synergistic comps against them. So this is the tier list. I would say this is pretty accurate. Yep. So if you guys are going to the end of the video and you want to look at this, this is what I would say my tier list is. I'm pretty confident in this list. Well, I guess that's it for this video. really have anything else to say, to be blunt. Yeah. If you have any questions, if you have anything to say, just put them in the comments. I'll try to answer every comment, right? And I'm pretty confident that this one is accurate. So pause the video if you need to pause the video, or I'll put a picture up or something. And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.